So now we'll try connecting the encoder, see whether this works. And now it works. So now I'm also streaming on YouTube. So hello, YouTube. All right, there we go. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, let me just double check that the links and everything work. And of course not. Of course they don't work. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating that this stuff, like every time you restart a stream on YouTube, Streamer.bot kind of forgets. So I got to go through and tell it again, like, hey, I'm streaming on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. Let's go look at the broadcasts. It says it's live. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see whether people drop in. See RC and Karen hanging out on YouTube. So thank you for double checking that for me. And Dung as well. Thank you for that. But yeah, Dung's friend, send me a Twitch whisper after your performance review and let me know how it goes. Or if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, here's my LinkedIn. Love connecting with folks on there as well. So yeah, go connect with me on LinkedIn if you want and send me a message. Let me know how it goes. Or if you have any other questions, I can help you offline before your performance review. But yeah, I would start compiling those notes sooner than later and get those going. Okay, now it says I'm live on YouTube. All right, turn the volume down. Cool. Can famous content creators connect on LinkedIn too? Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Brian, did you have anybody in mind for who the famous content creator is going to be that's going to connect with me on LinkedIn? Sorry. Bad streamer. Making notes right now. Awesome. Well, good luck. Good luck. Yeah, Brian, absolutely. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. All right, we'll throw some Deadpool hearts in chat for Brian.
Oh, hello.
Good times, good times. Yeah, so I had to like go through and restart everything, so it restarts all the first words. And anyway, so we got this whole point system thing going on. The longer you're active in chat, the more points you get, and so on. I like the glowing heart. Oh, it's Amish. Nice, Amish Ace's glowing beating heart. Although I'm surprised for him, it's not like a Lego-shaped heart. Alrighty, let's see. But yeah, by all means, connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff for sure. Honestly, part of like why I've been building out Streamer.bot is exactly for people like Amish Ace and Bricks O'Brien who want to be able to do different kinds of controls and interactions and, you know, chat games and things like that without worrying about like stream elements and Streamlabs and, you know, what are they harvesting from your chat? What, like, how are they using your chat messages and things like that? And so I wanted to be able to build things that make it easy for you to go do your streaming and how to manage all your data and things like that. And so a couple of things that I built out, let me see if I can find the... I started building out controls where you can basically manage things in Google spreadsheets. So here are all the chat commands that we can do. There's even like a exclamation point commands, and it'll print this out as your static response. So you don't have to, you know, log into Stream Elements or whatever. You can just load everything into a spreadsheet, put the spreadsheet link into Streamer.bot, and then boom, you got a whole bunch of auto commands. We had other things like you want to go change my background from the Deadpool chibi to like an animated background. There's a channel point redeem for that. And so it's basically going to keep track of all of these. And then boom, that channel point redeem magically works. We've got other channel point redeems to go play audio or video files. And again, they're all managed over Google spreadsheets. And so you load this up, you put that in Streamer.bot, and then you get to manage it through Google spreadsheets. So much easier. And And I had this built up in the past for bit redeems as well, where the first column was like the number of bits, and the second column was like, what do you want to do with the, if they do those bits? And then you can come in here and you can define things like, which OBS scene or OBS source you want to actually play the thing, or whether it's audio and whatever. And it made it so much easier to manage, because I knew not just Ace, but like other streamers, they would have like dozens or hundreds of Streamer.bot commands they would have to go in and manually change. And if they ever wanted to change a bit value, it meant like hours of work of like shuffling everything else and like reorganizing everything. It's like, just put it in a spreadsheet, sort the thing by the bit redeem value, and then like you can just reorganize it however you want. Go into Streamer.bot, tell it to reload the thing, and boom, you're done. It's so much easier. Brian says, I've had zero luck finding any games or activities that are Twitch and YouTube compatible that I can do during ad breaks. So funny enough, we've got a game. I've actually built a couple. We've got one called Higher Lower, which is really fun. We can do a quick round of Higher Lower, where basically everybody in chat will try to guess a number. So the game picks a number from 1 to 100, and then everybody in chat just starts spitting out numbers. And it takes all those numbers and it averages them together and says, okay, everybody's average was 55. Everybody needs to guess higher, or everybody needs to guess lower. And then everybody does another round of numbers, and eventually you hone in on like what was the winning number. And then you just award points or have some kind of outcome, however you want to do that outcome. We also have the stock portfolio game. This one's only on Twitch though, because it's using Twitch emotes. I haven't found a good emote set up for YouTube. But yeah, let's do a quick game of Higher Lower. Everybody wants to do a join command. We can go ahead and join on this one. And then I started, I took some inspiration from the parachute drop game, and I made a little cannon game where it would put a little cannon down in the corner over here or down over here, and then people would do like a fire command with an angle and a power, and you'd see their like Twitch icon or YouTube icon like fly across the screen and try to land on a target and get points and stuff like that. So if anybody else wants to join, we got a couple seconds left. We got about 30 seconds. Does it pull from Twitch and YouTube at the same time? Yep, absolutely. No, it does one number and then the whole community plays together. So everybody on YouTube and everybody on Twitch, it averages everybody together. And only people that do a join command, those are the only chat inputs that the game will pay attention to if it sees a number coming through. It basically looks at who joined the game, and it only pays attention to their numbers. So if somebody who doesn't join comes in and starts spamming a bunch of numbers, it won't matter. You can also configure the game to only look at the first number that they type in or whatever the last number is they type in. So whether you want to allow them to correct it or not. Cool. So round one is going to start any moment. And here we go. So we have 30 seconds. Just type any number in chat for those that joined. And then it's going to average all of our numbers together, and it'll tell you, do we need to collectively guess higher or lower? So put any number from 1 to 100. Yep, there's always that one person that's just going to bottom out or like max it out. And obviously that's going to change the average. So of the 5 of us, we're going to average out somewhere in the low 40s maybe? Nope, 46. Okay. So we need to all collectively guess higher than 46. So the next round has started. So guess higher than 46. So I'm going to split the difference and go a little higher. Now, Stone Monkey Research could be a turd and keep putting a 1 in there if they really wanted to, and it's going to drag that average down, and then like nobody wins. Or they could go the opposite direction and do a 98. There we go. So yeah, basically everybody kind of hones in on it. Now we may have to do something where, the number of rounds depends on the number of players or something like that, because 10 rounds with only 5 players, we're all going to guess this pretty quickly. So again, it has to be higher than 71. So I'm just going to throw in a 90. Also, at any point, if anybody actually says the correct number, it'll actually award them bonus points at the end. But because there's only 5 of us playing and we have 10 rounds, chances are pretty good we're all going to guess it by like round 6 or 7. We're all going to know what number it is, and we're all going to put that in so we all get those bonus points. But I also set up the decay on the points that you see down here that even if you get all the way to the end and like the average doesn't work out, everybody still gets some amount of points. Okay, so it has to be higher than 78 still. So we got to go even higher. So I'm going to keep guessing around 90. And so we'll eventually hone in. But again, someone could come in and just be like 1 and just drag that average like way down just to you know, prices right the whole thing. All right, so we're all going to come in around like mid 90s or around mid 90s maybe. Okay, so it's somewhere between 78 and 93. The other thing that I was debating was whether the number here where it says guess 1 to 100, whether it should say guess between 71 and 93. So I'm going to guess 85. All right, we got ads starting, but I'm going to snooze it just so we can finish out the game. So we know it's got to be somewhere between 78 and 93, not inclusive of those numbers. So it's going to be 79 to 92. So we've narrowed it down to like a range of 12 or 13 numbers. Okay, so now it's somewhere between what, 78 or 79 and it's less than 90. So between 79 and 89. So I'm just going to split that in half. Say 85. So anyway, this is a kind of like fun little chat game that I built up, Brian. So if you want a copy of it, if you use Streamer.bot, I can send you a copy. It is effectively a binary search, Doug. You're exactly right. All right, so it's somewhere between 87 and 90, not inclusive. So the number is either 88 or 89. Everybody has named the bus routes in my area. That's great. Would be nice to see on screen what the number is narrowed down to. I thought about that, Karen. And so like this, you know, guess the number from 1 to 100 kind of thing. I may make an easy mode where it does adjust those, but I kind of like the mystery of like, if you're not paying attention, you know, you're going to throw off everybody's average. All right. So our collective average was 88 and we win. So now it's going to go through and it's going to tally up all the points and like spit out a bunch of stuff about who got points. Now, for every round that you participated, you get some amount of points. But it looks like it didn't award everybody all the points. So it awarded all the bonus points, it looks like. So yeah, everybody that guessed exactly 88 gets a bonus 1,000 points. But it looks like I'm the only one that got the 430 points. So again, I'm working out some bugs, but that's the kind of game that I've been building, Brian. But we did play it last stream. We played it with YouTube and Twitch, and it worked across both platforms. So yeah, we can chat about that offline if you want. So we did that. We did the Canon game. There's also the stock trading game that you see popping up in Twitch. Yeah, and then the fire command. So that should, yeah. So again, this has some bugs where sometimes it'll queue up a player and not actually like fire them out of the cannon. But feel free to do a fire command. If it waits more than 60 seconds, it'll disappear. And then the next time it loads, it picks a new random spot for the target, as well as whether the cannon shows up in this corner or down in this corner. And then the little wind speed indicator you see over here, it'll also adjust like every couple of seconds. And that also throws off your, you know, how well you can fire your shot. So if nobody else fires, it's about to shut off. And then the next person that does a fire command, it'll basically start a whole new game. So, all right, SMR is coming in. Oh, look at that, 72. All right. And then these actually contribute to your points. So if you do a points command, it'll tell you how many points you win. But yeah, we'll need to go look at the higher lower game and suddenly why it didn't award everybody the points, because it should go through the group and figure out who is in the group and everybody gets those amount of points. So yeah, little bugs like that to work out here and there. But this is the fun kind of stuff that I build when I'm, you know, waiting for other things going on in the evenings. I'm doing a lot of AI assisted coding on other side projects. Hopefully that I'm going to launch in the next couple of months. I can show off one of them that I got going on. And this is for other people who are game developers. Let me find the right tab here. Show on stream. I'm basically working on this with another colleague where we have a way to load like a hexagonal grid over top of a real world map. And then people who are playing in these regions will be able to like transfer things from, you know, Jersey City over to Brooklyn or something like that. Or you can literally travel over to like whatever that other area is and literally like build a base over here. So maybe this is where you live or this is where you work. You can build a base there if you want. And then as you travel around, it'll look at your latitude and longitude, figure out which of these sort of grid points that you're in, and then you can interact with the game kind of under the hood with that. And so this is a little mini demo that we've got going on where we've got hexagons, we've also got diamonds, and then we've also got triangles. And then you can set the resolution of these. So we didn't want to go any lower than a 5 because, you know, even though that covers a lot of city territory, we didn't want to risk player safety by having other people figure out exactly where they were. So anything that you do within this region is always going to happen from the center point. And so if we measure from here to here, for example, it's always going to say, okay, it's happening from this center location. And so you could be over here in the corner and it's actually going to register as though you were here in the middle. So we wanted to take player safety into account. But then you can also raise up the resolution on those things and make those grid pieces even bigger if you want to. So that's something that I've been building for other game developers who want to build like real world interactive things where you've got like a territory that you want to interact across territories and like transfer goods or fight players in other territories, or just say like, hey, like you're running your own little server instance or whatever within that region or something like that. So that's something else that I've been working on there as well. So I think the win needs to adjust without people queuing. Yeah, it should. So RC, I had to change some of how the game, like the canon game actually works, some of the mechanics in it, because people were getting stuck in the queue. So we'll need to, like, I've got some bugs to work out on that. But like I said, I was busy working on some other stuff over the weekend. But yeah, we got ads or not. I don't know if they just got dismissed. I think RC might have dismissed the ad. So no worries. So anyway, so this is something else that I've been building and just figuring out how to make it super performant and, you know, what we can do with it and so on. Oh, the other thing that I forgot to talk about is I built a mobile app, and there's a mobile app on Google Play Store. Here in Colorado, when my kids got their driving permit, they got recommended an app to go in and log the number of hours that they drive. And so you had to load up the app and you had to say start and stop your drive. But they need you to keep track of how many daytime and nighttime hours you would actually drive. But the app wouldn't flip over at sunset. And so if you started driving at like 7 p.m. and you drove till 9 p.m. and sunset happened in between, it would track all of those hours as daytime hours because it started in the daytime. You could go in and manually edit it, but it was kind of a pain. But those apps were doing tons of tracking about the kiddos using the app. It was also showing them ads for car insurance and car repairs and whatever. It's like super targeted to the audience. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make an app where everything is stored locally on the phone. Nothing leaves the phone. Everything is done on the phone. You want to edit anything, it's all done on the phone. Then you can export it as a CSV file if you want to pull it into a spreadsheet. And so, yeah, I basically built this little app and got it up on the Google Play Store. So if anybody wants to download it and leave me a nice review, that would be wonderful. And so, yeah, it basically it's a pretty simple kind of thing. You go in, you start, you stop driving. The other thing that I wanted to do with this app that the other apps didn't do, some families only have a single cell phone to share with everybody. And some of these apps, like when my oldest got his driving permit, he just downloaded the app and use it. when my youngest got his permit, they recommended, I think it was a slightly different app, or they made a change to the app where now when he tries to use the app, it emails me. I have to also install the app in order to let him use the app. And now it's tracking all of our data. I'm like, no, you're not tracking my data just so my kid can use your crappy app. And their app got like horrible reviews. And that's the one being recommended by the DMV. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it better. But I also made a way to come in here where in the settings panel, you can go in and you can add multiple drivers. And so when you start up the app and you say like, here's who's driving, you'll be able to, if you have multiple drivers, you'll have a drop down in here and say who's driving right now. And then it'll kind of give you the whole like history thing here. And then there's a way to like, you can download the CSV data. If you turn on location tracking, it'll be more precise about figuring out when sunrise and sunset is in your area, but it'll also let you download KML data of like where you actually went on your drive. And so you can load that on Google Earth if you want to see where you drove. But again, it's all on your device. It doesn't leave your device at all. There's no ads. There's no like tracking of any data of any kind. But then also if you need to reset a device or something like that, you can also import that CSV data back into the app. So anyway, so there's that. And then, the settings panel, if you use location mode, or you can just enter a zip code and it'll use that data to figure out sunset and sunrise in like wherever you are. So while you're driving, if the sunrise or sunset time trips, it'll actually switch your hours over from daytime to nighttime or nighttime to daytime, depending on when you're driving. And then you can also customize like how many hours of daytime and nighttime driving you actually need to track. And then it'll build little progress bars like this for you. Anyway, fun little app. It's free. It's 100% free. If anybody wants to go check it out, I'll drop the link in YouTube chat as well as Twitch chat. If you want to go check it out, download it, give me any kind of feedback on it. That would be great. There is one bug that I recognize I need to go fix, where if you start a drive and then switch the app and come back, it doesn't always update the time. But when you stop driving, it accurately records the time of when you started and stopped. But if you start a drive and then leave the app and come back, it doesn't always update the time properly. So I do have a bug to fix in it. I'll get that pushed out this week. But this is the kind of stuff I've been doing kind of on the side as well. But yeah, I'd appreciate any other downloads, any other feedback. You don't have to give me like a really nice review, but I won't say no. So we got ads in about 30 seconds. It should only be like a 30-second ad or something like that. Yeah, Karen, so the bonus points do come through the bonus points get awarded to anybody that guesses the correct number. Again, the more people that play, the less likely you're going to guess the exact number. But again, it's up to the streamer for the range. Like maybe they want to guess 1 to 1,000, which will make it even harder to kind of hone in on it. Anyway, we'll see everybody after the ads in about 5 seconds. We'll see you back in about 30 seconds to a minute. Unless you happen to be on Twitch Turbo, which I highly recommend. Go get Twitch Turbo. We do have 1 minute of ads. It's funny because Twitch keeps telling me like, hey, you should increase your ads and get more revenue. It's like, I don't do this to make money. I do these kinds of streams to help people out and encourage them to do fun software development and play goofy games and stuff like that. I don't do this to make money. Alrighty. So what else is going on with everybody? Anybody else have interviews? Anybody want to do a resume review? Anything along those lines? Happy to help people out with that kind of stuff. Sunday night is kind of career night. So any kind of interview question, career progression kind of question, anything along those lines, totally fair game. let's see what else we got going on. Oh, also, if you want to see the open source version of all of my Streamer.bot stuff, I'll drop that link in chat for everybody as well. Everything that I do for Streamer.bot is open source. So you can go grab a copy and you can use it. If you need help implementing it, you can always hit up my Discord, and I'll put that link in chat here as well. If you want to check out our Discord community, if you need help or if you have questions about how to use any of the Streamer.bot stuff, you can absolutely do that on Discord and hit me up over there, and I'll give you as much support as you need to get things up and running. Or bug fixes, like we found with the Canon game and the higher lower game, there's still some bugs to work out, but it's in a much better spot than it has been. And then let's see if we come back over here. Oh, it didn't add. Okay, I need to add some other code to this thing because it didn't push some of the newer code that I've got in here that I need to update. Because a lot of the stuff that I'm building is going to be using a custom library file that you need to install in Streamer.bot. And I'm also open sourcing that as well. So you can download that and you can see exactly what I'm doing. That I'm not tracking any data. I'm not sending any data. I'm not like watching what's happening in your chat. Again, I have no interest in doing any of that to other people because I don't want that done to me. And so everything I'm doing is open source, 100% transparency of what those things are doing. That said, I am going to be working on a private DLL library for Streamer.bot around the giveaway stuff that I was working on a couple of years ago. I do want to get back to that at some point, where basically the way that Stream Elements, for example, does a giveaway is you go in and you say, here's the one thing that I'm giving away. Everybody does like ! enter, and then you give away that one thing. Thank you, Stone Monkey. Appreciate the hydrate. So what I wanted to build is a giveaway system where you could have multiple things to give away. And so if you wanted to do like a much bigger like promo kind of thing, that you could have multiple items to give away. And then people don't just enter the giveaway. They would, gain like points or some kind of custom currency on your channel. And then they would go through and say, I want to register kind of like a raffle style. I want to spend this many points on this particular prize and not the other prize. Because what I've seen in a lot of streams is I've got 5 things to give away. And so we're going to do like 5 giveaways, like back to back to back. Hey, Lopta, good to see you. Yeah, points or carrots, like whatever you want to call them, right? Good to see you, Lopta. And so they would do a giveaway and a whole bunch of people would enter because people love free stuff. But then sometimes people would end up winning something they didn't really want. And then they get taken out of the giveaway and they're like, oh, but I was really kind of hoping for that other thing. Part of it's like, well, then why did you enter the second giveaway if you really wanted like the 5th thing? But sometimes the streamers wouldn't tell you. They would just say like, hey, we're giving away these 5 things. Let's do drawing number 1. And you don't know what you're entering for. And then you get like some, cheap little thing that you didn't want because you really wanted something else, but now you're out of the whole giveaway. And so what I wanted to build was a giveaway system where you could register multiple prizes. And then as a viewer on that stream, you could say, I want to spend this many points as raffle tickets towards this item and this many points towards that item. And those are the only things you'd be eligible to win. And so if you had like a really big ticket item, then you could dump tons of points in that. And if there's something you really didn't want to win, don't put any points towards it. And then the streamer could go through and say, okay, this is how many people have points, and these are your chances and odds of winning, blah, blah, blah. And then let's go do that drawing. And it's only going to draw the names of people that actually entered that particular giveaway. And so that's a giveaway thing that I want to go build, where you can have multiple items and then, have some way of letting people go see like what the item is, like whether it's a web page or, just, give me information about that particular prize and it'll give you like an Amazon link for it or like whatever the streamer wants to share. But again, manage it all in something like a Google spreadsheet where you can just load up a Google spreadsheet and say this many points for this item. Here's the Amazon link. This many points for this item. Here's the, throne, wish list link. or whatever, like wherever you want to link to the thing. And then people can go see like what the thing is. If it's on lego.com or whatever, like you just link to the thing, manage all that stuff in your spreadsheet. And then the streamer.bot system will actually track all of the entries, track all the points, how many points people spent, things like that. So that's the next thing I want to work on. I've got so many ideas, not enough hours in the day. But these are the kinds of things that I want to build to get people off of tools like Stream Elements, because I've heard anecdotally from other streamers that, yeah, Stream Elements is really not as random as you think. When they do like a random drawing, it's not as random as you think, where mine was like 100% random. And again, at the time, I was showing people like, here's exactly what my code is doing. And so, there's nothing fishy going on. But I was asked by a couple of streamers as I was building that thing out. They say, well, hey, we have some people that show up in chat and they only show up for the giveaways. So I do kind of want to bias it away from certain people. Yeah, stream elephants. Yeah, they never forget. Exactly. Well, Lopto, so what was happening on a couple of other streams, and this actually happened to me twice, where I would go into a stream and I would do ! enter and I would win. And then the next day I'd be on someone else's stream and they'd be using Stream Elements and they do a giveaway and I would win that one. And I would win like several days in a row. And then no matter how many things I entered, I wouldn't win anything for like 4 months. And then suddenly I would be back on a stream and I do like bang enter. And suddenly I'm like winning on like 2 or 3 streams and then nothing for like 4 or 5 months. And I've heard anecdotally from other people that, yeah, I had the exact same thing happen, where they would go in, they would find people that were on Stream Elements and they would enter their giveaway and they would win a whole bunch of things back to back on multiple different streams. And I'm like, yeah, that's not random. There's no way that that's random. If you can win back to back a bunch of times and then nothing for an extended period of time, like nothing ever, that's not random. But I did have a couple of streamers say like, hey, I would love to use your giveaway system if I had a way to like say, my VIPs get like a 2x chance of, winning, or my subscribers get like a 1.5 times chance or something along those lines. Like I want some way of like biasing it for my actual community and not people that just show up for the free giveaway. And so I was also doing things like, your likelihood to win was also based on how long you had actually followed the streamer, or whether you had whether this is your first time ever. Because if it's your first time ever, I don't want you to win my giveaway. When I do, it's not that I don't want you to win, but I want you to have a much, much smaller chance than people who hang out in my community all the time. Yeah, who would only show up to a chat for a giveaway? Exactly. I mean, Brian would know this really well because the Lego people are constantly giving stuff away, like constantly doing like the fundraisings and tons of giveaways and whatever. And you get so many people coming in and all they want is the free stuff. Brian says, I've enacted a 72-hour follower policy for bigger prizes. Cool. Yeah. Stone Monkey Research says, I rated into Bricks O'Brien's stream, entered to win an astronaut Lego set and won right away. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, that reminds me. I've got one big Lego set left. I've got like a couple of little ones that I cleared out at a garage sale. But I've got one big set left to build, and it's the Avengers Quinjet. I bought it like 3 years ago, and I've never put it together. So I'm going to have to sit down and do that at some point. But I've been spending my evenings doing other things. But I should build that at some point. It looked really, really fun. I just never got around to doing it. But yeah, Karen, you're exactly right. Like the way that Stream Elements was doing things is it was very rigged. And so I want to be really transparent with streamers that I built the giveaway system for. Like if you really want to bias it, for your community, whether or not you want to be transparent about it is up to you. But that one's probably going to be a paid system. I don't think I'm going to give that one away for free. I may have like a few streamers try it for free and like give it to them for free just to help beta test it and like work out some bugs. But once it's ready to go, I'm probably going to do like just it's going to cost like $5 or $10 or something. Like I'm not going to charge you $100 for it. But I'll make it like a small nominal amount of money or whatever, just to kind of recoup some of my time and cost of building it and stuff like that. So, what did I miss? Do I want the list unordered or loudest? Oh, who would only show up to a chat for a giveaway? And RC says, do you want the list unordered or by loudest to background people? Yeah. Perhaps the beta testers will win it. I mean, maybe. I mean, that would be pretty ironic, Lopta, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I have a problem with people who, claim their thing is random when it's really not. And having experienced this from Stream Elements, I know that they don't do things in a purely random kind of chance way, because people would show up to streams and they had never been in that community before, and suddenly they're winning like 3D printers and like Nintendo Switches and like all these really high-end things, and they were never ever a part of that community. And even if the streamer puts on like follow only chat or things like that, like that's still not going to weed out some of the people that are just coming by for the freebies. And like I said, I don't want it to be a zero chance, but I kind of want to do it based on like follow age or something along those lines, where there's like a heavy bias towards people that have been around your community for a minute or that interact and like chat a lot. And so I might do a thing where like, hey, as you plug in this thing and you set up a couple things, like it's going to watch chat, and if people are engaging with your channel points, or channel rewards or bits or subs or whatever, like it'll start to rack up like, hey, RC Maniac's like super active in your community, Lopta's super active in your community, but this Brix O'Brien guy, never heard of him, right? And now it's going to bias in that way when it does a drawing. So I do want to build out some kind of control like that for streamers, but I also want it to just be like 100% random as well, and just let the streamer control whether they want it like purely random or if they want it like more like community oriented or community driven to like heavily biased toward their community. So working on a lot of different ideas and working out some of the kinks there, but also how to make it as easy as possible for folks to like set up and actually use on their stream. Bonus points for the puns and dad jokes. Exactly. Yeah. You drop a dad joke and you win extra 1,000 points or something. Wheel of People. Exactly. So yeah. And I did have a couple of other ideas for games, like, having like an interactive, like tic-tac-toe, sort of tournament, like a ladder tournament where people could do a join command. And then like, while you're on a BRB screen or whatever, like it would just draw like, a number of tic-tac-toe things on the screen, and you would figure out where your board is. And then, you would play tic-tac-toe, and then in a ladder tournament kind of thing, like narrow down to the, 2 winners, and they play head-to-head kind of thing to win points or whatever. Like I'm thinking of a few other kinds of interactive games like that. We raided into somebody who I've been following on Twitch for a little while, and they basically built a really fun bingo game where you can actually steal numbers off of somebody else's bingo card. And so it actually displays everybody's bingo card, and it calls out numbers. And if you have that number on your card, you have to put that in chat, and then it like puts a little dot on your card or whatever that you've now claimed that. But if you're like, let's say RC Maniac gets a B12, and that's the upper left corner, and I need the upper left corner to win a bingo, I can steal that number off of RC Maniac's card, and it'll show up on my card as being marked, and then I can do like exclamation point bingo and win the game. So he's built some really neat things like that, or you can like spill coffee on someone else's card so they can't see their numbers for, like a minute, or I don't think it's a minute, maybe it's like 20 or 30 seconds, but it got me thinking of like the chaos style of like community kind of games, that I think would be a lot of fun, and then do some sort of point award system. And then those points, again, feed back into a giveaway or some other way of interacting on your stream where people, especially that don't have like money for bits and subs, that they can still do things on your stream by spending these, you know, custom currency points or whatever. So, Brian says, can I rig a giveaway so I can win a 3D printer? I mean, I haven't given away a 3D. Well, the last 3D printer I gave away would have been like spring of 2023, I think. I did a big giveaway in May of 2023 for around my birthday. No, it was before that because I stopped streaming in April. So it was like March or April of 2023. No, wait. When did I stop streaming? It was 2024. Yeah, it was like spring of 2024. I think I did a big giveaway, and I actually gave away a 3D printer to somebody. Can I win an Epson dot matrix printer? I mean, sure. You want to break into the PC museum and like steal one? Those are really, really hard to find now unless you find some old university or something. Seems like I'm overdue for a rigged giveaway. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a whole other sort of hot topic with me, Brian. I was actually hanging out in someone's stream the other day who I hadn't been on their stream in a long time. And I said hi and like dropped a dad joke as I do. And they're like, hey, it's Ian. Hey, we really missed you in our stream. We're fundraising for blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming back to this community. That's the only reason you missed me, was because I used to donate to your things and like nah. So I used to donate stuff very publicly all the time. And unfortunately, I was starting to get DMs all the time of like, hey, my buddy can't pay his rent. You should come join his little donation thing. I'm like, I don't know you or your buddy. Why am I going to help pay his rent? But, you know, if it's something like, you know, Stand Up to Cancer or St. Jude or like, you know, the other one that does like the arcade games in hospitals for kids, like I don't mind supporting those, but I'm definitely not going to be public about it. But yeah, we stopped. I mean, it really kind of soured me on the whole, like, hey, I should do a fundraiser thing. I should take in donations or whatever. Like I was having people donate to different charities and groups and I was matching all their donations. And then, you know, actually met with people in person, be like, hey, you know, you don't know me, but my live stream community, like put this thing together for you. And, you know, we'd raise a couple of $1,000s here or there for different organizations. And we had a lot of fun as a community doing that. But then you kind of get flagged as like if you need money, you just go hit up this person or go hit up that person. And then you start I was starting to get DMs all the time. And I didn't want to close off my DMs because people still DM me on Twitch with like resume questions and career questions. And so I don't want to shut it off completely. But man, it really leaves a bad taste in your mouth when like people are only paying attention to you and your streams or want you on their stream because they're doing a fundraiser or something. I'm like, nah, I'm just not going to hang out in those channels anymore. So yeah, sucks that the fun had to be ruined by sucky people who don't know any better. I mean, these people actually knew better, but they made it like this big public thing of like, hey, Ian's back in chat. We haven't seen you in a really long time. We're fundraising for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, close tab. So it's, you know, it's one of those things where you kind of build up this public persona of like who you are and what you want to do and whatever. So it's, yeah, people think you have infinite bandwidth in cash. I mean, I've got infinite bandwidth in a lot of different ways, but you know, I'll help people with fundraising and I'll help people, you know, with different things going on. But like, I'm just not going to spend, you know, I'm not going to put money into causes when that's the only reason that people make it seem like that's why they want you in their stream. Hey Minion, how's it going? Shadow thing's not working. So we'll do a manual shout out for Minion here. Minion also has a very chill stream, does custom music, also does the occasional video game and so on as well. So pretty fun stream to hang out with if you're just looking for some chill vibes. Same with Karen, both Minion and Karen. I think you two would actually get along well. You both have very chill vibes and so on as well. So I don't know if Karen is still in chat or not, but Palea, yeah. Palea's had a pretty interesting update. I got into the new update last Thursday night, I think, or Friday night. I downloaded the new update and yep, Karen's still hanging out chilling. Yeah. So Minion, if Minion and Karen don't already know each other, you should definitely give each other a follow and hang out on stream together. I think you'd get along. You're both super chill and I think very like-minded on a lot of things. But yeah, good times. RC says the catch-22 of donations is seeing something that you want to support and feeling good about it, and then feeling absolutely zero interest when someone asks you to donate. Yeah, being asked to donate is like, is it really a donation at that point? So I mean, there were a couple of streams where like, you know, like I wasn't really on Twitch for about a year. Like when I stopped streaming, I was pretty much off Twitch completely for like a year. Over the past year, I was hanging out on Twitch, but mostly just lurking in people's channels. Like I wasn't even saying hi, just to kind of figure out like whose streams did I want to hang out with, or, you know, how did I want to engage with people? And then like, as soon as I'd say hi, like I'd start getting hit up with DMs again of like, hey, you know, you're that fundraising guy. And I'm just like, I'm done. So now I'm hanging out on streams where like, you know, I know folks and I want to like drop in and like drop a dad joke and things like that. But it is pretty disappointing when you get treated that way. Like you're just treated as a wallet and that's all people care about. So, hey dude, give me money. Yeah, exactly. But like some streamers I genuinely do enjoy supporting, like live music, love supporting live music. Other people that are getting into coding, absolutely. I've been watching a lot of streams where people are doing like vibe coding with AI and stuff like that, and I don't want to support them because AI is expensive and you know, whatever. I have reasons around some of that, even though I use a lot of AI tooling and stuff for what I do as well. But I'm generally not going to support them with like sub bombs and stuff like that on live streams. But live music, 100% love live music. I think there's a lot of artistry and a lot of things that go into that kind of stuff. And then like Karen Chow, like a lot of what you do on your stream where you're into the crafting and stuff like that is like really, really great. So yeah. Nobody bothers if you come on my stream. If they do, we'll take care of them. All right. Sounds good, Brian. Brian, do you have a set schedule of when you stream? I haven't been in your stream for a minute. It feels like a long time since I've been on your stream. Let's go see what Brian's schedule is here. Monday and Wednesday, it looks like. Okay, cool. I'll come hang out tomorrow. Oh, wait, that was last week. Are you streaming this coming week? It doesn't have a schedule going forward. Oh, no. Oh. Brian is streaming on the 25th. I won't be around that week, that day. 8th anniversary celebration. Nice. Unfortunately, I will be in New York, New Jersey area that weekend. Maybe hanging out with RC Maniac. But that's also TBD. Not really right now. My Discord got nuked. I've been basically reevaluating. Oh, I got you. Well, hit me up on Discord if there's anything I can help you out with. Just DM me here on Twitch or on Discord or LinkedIn. Like, hit me up if there's anything I can do to help you out. I'll help you out. Minion says, back in the olden days, we had to write our own computers or compilers with Yak. That's going back a minute for sure. Thankfully, my computer engineering program didn't make us write a compiler, but there was a lot of assembly back in the day. Wrote a lot of assembly. Started my career on assembly and really low-level firmware software. Don't miss that a bit. Need to re-add you on Discord. Turkish hackers gave me a Trojan virus through a Minecraft mod pack. Oof, dude, that's hardcore. You be live tomorrow? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll watch your channel. I'll wait for that to come through. Ancient coder from hell. I mean, I think I'm right there with you, Minion, to a lot of degree. So this past April was 30 years that I graduated from college. So it's been around a minute. Had used Lex and Yak for Introduction to C, the first course in grad school. Oof. Minecraft's an amazing way to get hacked. My oldest is actually doing a ton of custom programming for Minecraft right now. He's building a lot of games inside of Minecraft, like doing things like if you navigate through a maze and you make it through section 1, section 2, it unlocks section 3, and once you finish section 3, it unlocks section 4, and then you get different power-ups and stuff like that. He's writing his own, like building his own custom blocks and stuff like that. It's pretty fun to watch. He's been really, really into it. Is my oldest hiring? No, I don't think so. He would love to find a job himself. I've offered a few times to hire him to do some stuff for me, but he'd rather work on his own stuff. So. I will not tell you how long it's been since I graduated, but more than 30 years. If you say so. Undergrad, I used deck writers. Okay, yeah, all right. I know how old that is, so I won't say anything else, but yes. Props to Minion for, I can see now why you do live music instead of live coding on stream. Yeah, good times, good times. What is this new icon showing up on Twitch? Why is everybody highlighted with a little green face on Twitch? Oh, knock to ask someone to collaborate. Interesting, okay. Well, I'm not going to ask Frankly Built or most of these other people to collaborate, but... Oh, I think it's only showing up because I'm actually live. But yeah, they're showing up as suggested collaborations. I don't think I'm going to bother with that. But yeah, Brian, I'll definitely check out your stream tomorrow for sure. Good times, good times. Minnie says, yeah, I gave up on that and went to law school instead. Interesting. So I actually debated when I finished my computer engineering program, myself and one other person, we actually considered getting into like just an entry-level law degree or like an associate's of law, not even like a full-blown like bachelor's degree in law, but something we were really interested in getting into, like forensic analysis of computers, of like, how do we prove a computer really did a thing? Because we were so low level in the computers and infrastructure of like how the computer was actually doing things and where it was writing data on disks, to where like we could have been writing a lot of those analysis programs of like, did this person ever have that file on their hard drive, kind of thing, and like finding ways of tracing and tracking kind of stuff. Unless you're like the kind of person that like overwrites your hard drive, 50 times kind of thing. We had ways of figuring out what used to be on your partition table and stuff like that. And we debated that as our first career, but then we ended up not doing that. So BT52. Man, that's going back into like old terminal days for sure. We wrote VT52 emulators on the Mac. Good times. I remember back in the day when like the big thing was like we used a Mac to what was the Cray computers? We used a Mac to design a Cray, and then Apple used a Cray to like engineer the next Mac or something like that. Like there was some big thing back in the, I want to say in the early 90s, maybe mid 90s. It was this whole like Cray, we used a Cray to make the Mac, and then we used the next Mac to make the next Cray, or something like that. They used a Cray to make the Lisa. Yeah, it was something along those lines, but that was a minute ago for sure. I'm doing incident response one day a week at my job now. Okay. Yeah, I don't miss doing incident response and pager duty and all that kind of stuff. I don't have to deal with any of that right now. I'm doing a lot of really fun automation stuff though. Like a lot of really, really fun automation stuff. That reminds me, I need to double check that an automation worked. It did. Okay, phew. I'm trying to automate my automation to make sure that it's running. Normally I have to run it Sunday evenings. And I'm like, wait, did I already run that thing? It's like, oh no, it ran itself. So I don't have to worry about running that manually right now. But it's still running off my laptop. I need to get it off my laptop and actually like host it somewhere to run instead. So good times. I made a new checklist with the first box being, is the reporter being a dumbass? Fair. Yeah. That tends to happen a lot. Like, did they do any kind of double checking? Like, yeah, the whole like, hey, I can't get into the server. Like, and they're like, are you sure the server's turned on? They're like, oh yeah, it's totally turned on. I just can't get into the thing. And so this person had to go down to the data center and sure enough, the thing was not turned on. Yeah, it's always interesting when you get people that don't understand like how some of those things work. But good times, good times. So yeah, what's going on, everybody else? We just had like an uptick in viewers on Twitch. We're up to almost 20 people hanging out on Twitch. Hope everybody's doing well. Sunday is usually my career kind of night, or we would do a little bit of live coding on Streamer.bot. Honestly, just not feeling Streamer.bot. Kind of tired because I've been working on 2 other side projects. So I showed one of them, and then I've got another one that's related to the newsletters that I do. So for those that that know, oh, treat time for Riker. All right, thank you for the redeem. Hey, Riker. Oh, he's not down here? Okay. Stone Monkey, we might have to wait for Riker to find his way downstairs at some point, but I'll keep the treats. Oh, I'm not going to open the bag, though. These things smell awful. I will open the bag when he comes back. Although if I open the bag, he'll probably smell it from, like, across the neighborhood. These things really stink. Anyway, one of the things that I do for free are a bunch of newsletters. And basically, you come in, you give me your email address, simple little captcha just to keep the bots away. And then basically I've got these 5 newsletters. And one of the side projects I'm working on is a platform where other authors can come in and say like, hey, I want to share what I know about X. And they can come in and they can write all of their content. And it's kind of like a drip campaign if you've done marketing where it just sends out one message at a time. But what I have on mine is when you subscribe to a newsletter, you can pick how frequently you get the newsletter. And then these first 3, behavioral, general, and resume, these are not specific to the tech industry. The tech interview roadmap and the DSA system design, these are specifically for software engineers. But these other 3 are good if you're doing any kind of like, hey, I'm looking for a new job in any kind of career, these will help you out. Talks about like how to research companies, how to approach companies and network with them, resumes and cover letters, pretty self-explanatory. Gives you my thoughts and opinions on resumes and cover letters. And then behavioral interviews. I don't teach you in this one like, oh, when they ask, you know, what's your greatest weakness? Here's what to say. What I do is I tell you why we ask you those kinds of questions. Because if you understand our motivation, you're going to come up with a better answer. Anyway, the whole way that I send out these newsletters and manage the subscribers, I want to make that a whole separate platform. And here comes the dog. Hey, Riker, you want a treat? He's like, yeah, I want a treat. Anyway, I want to make this whole thing a separate platform that other authors can come in and have their own spreadsheets and so on. All right, you got one more treat? You want another treat? You want some yummies? You want yummies? Well, you got to come over here. All right. Oh, yeah, he's not even waiting for me to turn around. All right. This is from Stone Monkey Research. Nom, 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 nom. Okay, right here. Nom, 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 nom. You want this one? You want this one?
Oh. Oh, hello.
Oh, yeah, those are stinky and yummy, aren't they? Those are stinky and yummy. Oh, smell awful. I need like one of those jugs of like Clorox wipes to like wipe my hands after those things. But yeah, thank you, Stone Monkey Research. Appreciate the channel redeem. But yeah, Riker's my fluffy buddy for sure. Oh, did I miss a question from Dungspren? Found it in the About page. I might have missed... Oh, exclamation... newsletters, plural. Or you can do email. I think I've got emails, like a short version of it. But yeah, Minion, that's my dog. Come here. Come say hi to everybody. This is Riker. He is my purebred Labrador. Oh, yeah, you are. You are. Mwah. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah, he's my buddy. So we got him. So I met with a breeder in the fall of 2019. And the idea was to, because in a previous life, back in the late 90s, I had a purebred lab. And I actually took him into dog shows. and absolutely loved going into dog shows. And it wasn't the agility course where they like go up and down the ramps and then around like all the weaving things and jumping over things. It's more like you run them around the ring and they look for the conformity to the breed standard and like, are they like the proper sort of size and whatever for the lab and measurements and blah, blah, blah. And so I did that back in the late 90s and had a blast with it. And so I'm like, I want to do that again. I want to be more active and run around the ring and stuff like that. And so met with a breeder here in Colorado, lined everything up. He was born in November that year, brought him home in January. And then, of course, you have to wait like 4 or 5 months to get all the shots and whatever so they can be around other dogs. And then you start all the dog training and stuff. And but unfortunately, we had this little thing happen in the spring of 2020 that basically shut down all the dog shows. It shut down most of the dog training schools in the area. And I'm like, all right, well, now I've got this really, really good looking, purebred dog that I can't take into dog shows because, they were worried about COVID and stuff like that. And so all the dog shows shut down. And so anyway, we just got a really, really handsome pet out of the deal. My wife didn't want a puppy at the time. And so I named him Riker because she's a Star Trek nerd, thinking that would win her over. And it didn't, but he kind of grew on her. They're buddies now. But yeah, she didn't want a puppy to begin with. He, chewed up a piece of furniture and was like chewing shoes and the whole bit. But he was actually fine when I was at home. But as soon as I went back to work, he started getting really destructive and whatever, a lot of separation anxiety. But because of COVID, I got to work from home. And so basically, when I'm home, he's fine. He doesn't chew up anything. But now, for the type of work that I do, I travel occasionally. I've got a trip coming up next week where occasionally I travel. And apparently, he gets super depressed and just mopes around the house the whole time I'm gone. So, Brian wants a giant dog, a big, big dog. They can be a lot of work. Big dogs tend to have different kinds of health problems between bones and joints and heart conditions and things like that. But it also depends on how much hair you want to, Clifford, the big red dog. Also depends on how much hair you want to brush. Or like, do you want a dog to guard your house? Or do you want like a family dog? Or do you just want like a dog that you can go walk once in a while? Like, why do you want a big giant dog? Like, do you just want the big lazy bear? Or do you want like something that's big and active that's going to scare people, like a mastiff? Like lots of big kinds of dogs. My sister had a couple of Neapolitan mastiffs, I think. They weren't the bull mastiff. I think it was a Neapolitan mastiff, but enormous friggin' dogs, and they would slobber everywhere, like huge amounts of slobber. So you're either brushing hair or you're mopping the floor. One way or the other, you're cleaning up messes about your dog. But my sister loved those mastiff puppies. And I think she had a Shar-Pei for a while as well, if I remember right. I think she had a Shar-Pei for a little while. Alaskan Malamutes, they have a lot of hair for sure. Big commitment, big energy. Yeah. But yeah, good times. Yeah, let's see what else we got going on. Why does this keep telling me I have a gift until... One gift until a badge upgrade? Oh. Anyway. Well, we got ads. I didn't even pay attention that we had ads. So for those of you with Twitch Turbo, you're still here. But if you don't have Twitch Turbo, hope you're enjoying the ads. You can always switch over to YouTube. Actually, that's what we should do. Is we should say whenever there's an ad break coming up, it's like, hey, go watch on YouTube if you want to skip the ad. Just go watch me on YouTube for 60 seconds and then come back to Twitch. I just got an ad for a Subaru and it featured a dog and a tutu. Nice. Let's see if I can clear this other thing. It was telling me that I had some kind of like badge upgrade or something. I don't know. See whether this fixes it for Brian. We'll give Bricks of Brian a gift sub to the channel here. right, just in time for the ads to end anyway. So, you don't have to worry too much about hair with Chinese cresteds. Even the puffs don't shed. Interesting. We, I don't know, Brian, who would do such a thing? My uncle, actually, one of my uncles had a Basenji, which is a hypoallergenic short-haired dog that doesn't bark. And so I was debating, like, if we ever got a second dog, because this one sheds enough to be 3 dogs. If I ever did another dog, it would probably be a Basenji. They're very headstrong, are they? You're welcome, Brian. It was me. It was me. Yeah, it was me. Just because you were talking about seeing ads, I'm like, I would have thought Bricks O'Brien surely would have had Twitch Turbo. You had a friend with one? Okay. Well, my uncle loved his. It was like super timid and like very loyal to him. But yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, tell Cersei it was me. Oh, now we're maybe in a hype train. I ditched Turbo to see how the ad experience was. Oh, I got you. Okay. That's a good idea. Ads on Twitch, horrific. Yeah. I've seen some people like, oh, just use an ad blocker and whatever. It's like, that doesn't really get around the problem though. And honestly, with Twitch Turbo, like you still get like tiny little residual bit of income. Like I make like $2 a month or something from Twitch Turbo, something like that. It's really not that big a deal. Like I said, I've said this long and loud on my stream. I don't do this to make money. You know, I work in tech. I make a good salary. You know, I'm comfortable with where I am in life and whatever. I don't need to stream to make money. But I also have no intention of being like a full-time streamer at all. I think that would probably ruin the experience for me. I like just the occasional, like, let's hop online, let's help people out with a resume review. You know, if someone's got a career type of question, more than happy to help people out. It's what I love to do. And I'd rather do it as something that I love to do as something that I feel obligated to do. Because as soon as you start to feel that level of obligation, then it's not fun anymore. And I don't want to do streaming if it's not going to be fun. Opta says, I used to work in tech, probably too late to escape. I mean, it depends. RC says, ads get worse. When you get an ad, it puts the stream in a small window in the corner and the big one in the ads. Now they have full window showing the stream and still show the tiny ad in the corner. Gotcha. Any chance to drop some dad jokes? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can do exclamation point dad joke. And it'll pull up a random dad joke. And you can do that as often as you want. Or you can go to dadjokes736.com. So the 736 is kind of a shout out to my wife and how we met. But if you go to dadjokes736, it'll load up a new joke every time you load the page. There's nothing fancy. There's no styling or anything on it. It's just the joke. But when you do the dad joke command, it'll actually go pull a random joke off the website and put it in chat. So where does a king put his armies? In his sleeveys. And so some of them are really cheesy. Some of them get into like kind of dark humor. But some of them are pretty fun. So yeah. And again, that's a Streamer.bot thing that I have as well for the dad joke. So if you use Streamer.bot and you want some free dad jokes, it'll basically just pull them all off my website one at a time. So, just a chance to drop dad jokes. I see you've gone further. Yeah, actually have a dad joke command. Of course, can't not have a dad joke command. But yeah, I love dad jokes. So like even when we raid out to another channel, my raid command will actually go grab a random joke and then like put the emotes in there. And so we have a message that we can copy and like, you know, hit the other streamer with a dad joke as we're coming in on a raid, you know, stuff like that. So Minion says, I'm on Mix It Up. Okay, cool. I'm going to mute for just 1 second. Cool. All RC says, also ad blockers won't work on Twitch. Server-side ad insertion, yeah. Your best blocking approach is to literally replace the ad with your own video, but it won't be the stream. Can you even inject your own video instead of the ad? That would be interesting. I mean, I'd love to put a little ad thing together for like, you know, go get my newsletters, go, you know, book a mock interview with me, you know, stuff like that. That would be kind of fun to do as like a custom ad for like specific to my own channel. Streamer doesn't get revenue unless the ad video chunks get downloaded. Interesting. That's RC's job, yeah. Wait, RC, is that your job for Twitch? Like, I know you don't work for Twitch, but like the company that you do work for, is that something that they do for Twitch? I'm just curious. I would play the trailer for Paper Mario on a Nintendo Switch. Yeah. Cool deal. Dungsprint says, I still have career questions. No, totally. Dungsprint, by all means, that's why I'm here. You can ask as many as you want. I don't ever cap anybody and say like, hey, that's enough from you. Absolutely. Bring it. It's either that or more dog talk. I mean, or music or Streamer.bot or, you know, we've had a lot of debates around like AI and AI tooling and stuff like that too. So yeah, by all means, Dungsprint, bring it. That's why I'm here. I'm going to go grab another drink though while you type it out. I'll be right back. Also, not sponsored by this company, but Pringles has come out with some really, really good flavors lately. This one's 7-layer dip. Also picked up a spicy guacamole one. Really, really good. I'll try not to chomp too many of these into the microphone, but super yummy. Couldn't resist grabbing some of these off the snack shelf. You want all the Pringles? Yeah. They had some really, really interesting flavors. I went to a completely different store than I usually shop at earlier today, and they had like all these like really interesting flavors of Pringles that I'd never seen before. So definitely going to check those out. All right. So the question that came in: how do I get better at estimates? How to ask what success looks like for me in the company? How to set up goals? So let's break that down. When it comes to estimates, are you talking about like how do I get better at estimating how long something is going to take me? That's something I've historically also been really bad at. No hedgehog flavor. No. Hedgehog flavor crisp. I mean, what does a hedgehog even taste like? I'm afraid to ask. So yeah, historically that's been one of my weaker points, is like, how do you estimate how long something is going to take? A lot of it comes with experience. If you've got 7 years of experience, you've got a pretty good idea of like, yeah, it might take me like a day or two. But you also have to factor in like, am I going to get interrupted? Am I going to have meetings to deal with? Do I have like, you know, am I going to get interrupted in the middle of my day for a stand-up or something along those lines? And so you have to factor in kind of the like the context switch in your brain of like when a developer is kind of in that flow state of writing code and they get interrupted, it takes them a lot longer to get back into what they were doing. I either overestimate or underestimate. I try to break tasks down, but it doesn't work. I would say overestimating is almost always better. When I was in college, back in my day when I was in college, my computer engineering professors, they had an interesting take. They had us get into small groups, and they said, we're going to describe a piece of work that we want you to do, and we want you to estimate how long it's going to take. And then we all had to write down our answers. And basically, he would come around to all the groups, and he would put a piece of paper on our table. And the piece of paper had like different instructions on what to do about our estimates. And one group had to only take the biggest estimate. One group had to only take the smallest estimate. One group had to average them together. Another group had to add them all together. And so it was all these different kinds of instructions. And so then he said, okay, here's the piece of work. How long is it going to take? And then just seeing the really wide range of like, oh, it's going to take an hour, or no, it's going to take like 10 weeks. And he said, chances are pretty good adding all the scores together is a pretty close estimate to how long it's actually going to take, between making sure you're clear on what it is you need to build, going and building the thing, doing any debugging that you need to do, and then actually deploying it and getting it out in the real world and having people actually use it. Sometimes adding all the estimates together is actually a more reasonable assessment of how long it's actually going to take. In practice, it's a much harder thing to do, especially if you're kind of put on the spot where they say like, hey, we want you to build, this new feature. How long is it going to take? And they stand there waiting for an answer. I would pretty much always tell them like, let me think on it. Let me break it down. Let me, ask some questions about it, because I need to be really clear on what you want it to be, what you don't want it to be. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a wildly wrong estimate, and I don't want to do that. Like, I want to be as clear as I can. I want to be, as accurate as I can, but I need more information. And so holding people off in that regard so that you can get the answers to those questions is really important. If you feel like you have a good definition of what is expected of you to be built, and you have a good estimate of what you think it's going to take, I would always increase it a little bit. Because the gut reaction is like, oh, that's not going to take any time at all. Or, especially if you're using like AI code completions and things like that to help build what you build. Sometimes it can then drastically reduce the amount of time to actually build the thing, but it's going to take longer to review what AI did, because AI is going to be guessing and hallucinating and whatever. So you kind of have to factor that in as well. Like, yes, AI can write the code a lot faster, but then you still have to review it, make sure it did it right, and either correct it or tell AI to correct it, but then you need to review that. And so does AI really save that much time in the long run? It's like, a lot of times it does, but sometimes it makes it worse. There was a study, I want to say about a year ago, where engineers were asked, like, does engineering make you more productive? Or how much does AI make you more productive? And the average that came out of engineering was that it made them 20% more productive. But the reality of it was companies were actually seeing that it made engineers 20% less productive. Because again, they're spending time learning the AI tools, and they're like interacting with AI, and they're trying to figure out the best way to do things with AI. But then as they would take the time to review the code from AI, they would realize like, no, this is actually pretty lousy code, or it didn't do something correctly, or, you had sort of what we call domain knowledge that AI didn't have. And so it's trying to do the best it can, but it doesn't know. And so you end up sort of fixing a lot of code. And so I would say like, do like an honest sort of gut check on like, I think it's going to take 2 days to do. I would increase that by like an extra half day. Give yourself a little bit of time, but make sure that you're factoring in like a lunch break and factoring in meetings and things like that. Because if you say it's 2 days, but the second day is full of meetings, and it's not going to be done, if you start on Monday morning, it's not going to be done by the end of day Tuesday, if Tuesday is all day meetings. And so you have to be careful to say like, it's going to be 2 days of effort outside of meetings. Like as soon as I have meetings, it's going to delay things. Or if I get interrupted, it's going to delay things. And so giving yourself a bit of buffer, I think is good. Overestimating is generally going to be better. Underestimating is always the worst though. And saying like, oh, it should only take half a day, and then it takes you 3 days because maybe you missed a requirement or you didn't have all the information you needed. And so making sure you have all the information to even get started on the work is really important. And so we would have as our engineering team would work, we would have something we call definition of done. How do we know when something is done and ready to ship? But we also had like really clear requirements on like, what do we need to know before we even start working on this? Who's involved? Like, who needs to be part of the process? Do we need the documentation team involved? Do we need the QA team involved? Do we need the DevOps team involved? Because if so, they all need to hear about this before we ever start working on it, and make sure that they understand that, hey, we're about to go build this thing and bring it down the pipeline. You need to be ready for it when it comes through, or we need you to work in parallel with us to do the QA and do the documentation, whatever, while we build the thing out. And that can delay things. And so I hate giving an it depends kind of answer, but it really depends on what it is you're trying to estimate. But making sure that you're accounting for other teams and meetings and things like that you have to be involved in is going to be an important part of that estimation. It does propagate efforts from implementation and review. Absolutely, 100%. All right, so that was part one of your question. Part two of the question, how do I ask what success looks like for me in the company? I mean, I would ask it almost exactly the way that you presented it there. So when you have this meeting with them tomorrow, saying like, hey, what is your expectation for me? Like, I have my set of goals of things that I want to stretch for, or a set of goals that I know I can reach, and then maybe what we call a stretch goal of like, if I can, stretch and do just that little bit extra, I hope to also accomplish this, but it's a stretch goal. I'm not committing to doing it, but I will do it if I have the capacity, or if I have, extra time or whatever to work on it. I also want to achieve this. But asking them specifically, do you have specific goals of things that you would like to see me do, or things that you'd like to see me change about what I do? Do you want me to work, different hours, different days? Do you want me to work more with another team? Like, what is your expectation for me within the company? I would literally ask the way that you pose that. Follow up in chat says, I asked my previous boss how to finish tasks when I have meetings all day, and he told me work overtime. Needless to say, I don't work there. Yeah, it's a horrible answer. You need to factor meetings and things like that into your workday. Because you've only got so many hours in the day, and you still have to find rest. You still have to eat food. You still need family time and whatever. Like, you still have to take care of all that. All right. Third part of the question. How do I set up goals? This is a really good one. I like this one. What do you want out of your career? What do you want to be building? Do you want to take your career in a particular direction? Do you like doing what you're doing? Do you like the kind of software that you're currently building? Do you want to work on something slightly different? Do you want to grow in a particular area? Like, if you're a back-end engineer and you're kind of curious about front end, you want to work a little bit more on front end, you can set up a goal for yourself and say, hey, over the next year, I want to be involved in at least 2 small projects just to try front end, see if I even like it. I've tried front end. I don't like it. When I was in high school, I was very much into art and graphic design and graphic layout and things like that. Like, a lot. I actually worked at a print shop, and I worked with a second graphic designer. So I worked with a graphic designer at the print shop, and I separately worked as kind of a high school intern at a design studio, as well as at a print shop where I worked with a designer. And then I went through the whole process of learning everything about how like physical layouts are made, and, PMTs and the whole bit, and like doing the actual graphic design layout and making logos and business cards and letterheads, and then like the big slicing machines and the whole bit. Like, what is a registration mark and why does it matter on the piece of paper? Like, all that kind of stuff. I knew all this kind of stuff. And there was a really great guy named Scott who worked their printing press, and he was deaf. And only one other person at the company understood sign language. And so Scott had to relay everything through this other guy to basically say, like, how do you want the ink mixed and whatever. And Scott had this amazing ability that he could look at like any kind of color, and he could kind of look at the palette of all the other colors, and he would start mixing all the inks and stuff together, and he would hand mix the ink that you would need to do like full runs of things. And then, you know, you do a couple of test prints and go, yeah, that shade's like exactly what we need. And he would go and he would just have all those ratios memorized, and he would go through and he would like put all the ink together for like the full scale run. It was amazing to watch. But I'm not really that like visual anymore. And so for me, like I was curious, like I kind of want to learn React. And then as I learned React and TypeScript and got into the front end a little bit, I'm like, okay, I understand how it works now. I know what a React component is. I don't ever want to have to build one. It's just not something that I want to do. And so having goals for yourself is important, but also understanding what your strengths are and setting up a goal. I would typically set up a goal around one thing that I'm really good at. And what do I want to accomplish with that strength? But then also finding an area where I'm weak or an area that I know that I want to grow, and asking if there's opportunity for me to grow in that within the company. Say, hey, you know, I'm really interested in mobile development. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to quit your job and become a mobile developer, but just say like, is there anything that we do that could be like on a mobile device? Like, I just want to learn a little bit about it. See, you know, as we would say, like scratch an itch. You know, we have an itch. I want to go learn a thing. I just want to try it out. I'm going to try it for a week or two and figure out, am I even any good at it? Do I enjoy it? Although there's only so much that you can learn in a short amount of time. But if there are things within the company that they already do, like, so Dungspren, you mentioned you got 7 years experience. You've been at this company for a little while, at least a year, because you've got your annual review coming up. Let's say you're already full stack, but let's say you've got like a security team and you're like, I want to get better at writing secure software. And so maybe that's a goal for yourself. You know, as I work on a new project, I want to be able to interact more with the security operations team or SecOps. I want to work with them more. I want to get them more involved in what I do because I want to learn more about what it means to write secure, safe, data privacy focused type of software for what we do, so that the next time I write some piece of a project and we give it to them, they're less likely to reject it because I missed a bunch of things. So that's an area that I want to grow. So I would try to find something I'm good at and how I can use that within the company, but also where's an area that I want to grow and is there opportunity for that? Now, it's your manager's job to find that opportunity for you. Golden Saber 22, thanks for the follow. Welcome in. It's your manager's job to find those opportunities. It's not your job to go track down the people to make those opportunities happen. That's your manager's job. If they are a good manager, they're going to help find those opportunities for you because you've expressed an interest in that thing. And if they kind of shoot it down or give you reasons why not, it's a sign of bad management, because they should trust your instinct and they should trust you enough. If you're getting your work done and they're happy with you as an employee, they should have enough trust to say like, yeah, over the next 6 months, let's find one project for you to do that with the security ops team and see how that goes. And then evaluate after that. How did it go? Do you want to keep doing that a little bit? Doesn't mean you're going to shift and like change teams, but how well did that interaction go? How often were you meeting? And so I would set up a goal, but then I would still be meeting with my manager on a really regular basis. Like, you know, maybe not every week, but like maybe every other week or at least once a month. And say, hey, for that goal of working with the security team, here's how I'm getting involved with them. Here's the kind of feedback that I've had. Here are ways that I'm improving what I'm doing, and give them an update while you're going through it, as opposed to waiting for the 6 months to be over and then trying to come up with a whole review or retrospective on like, how did that whole thing go? That's much harder to do down the road. And so take lots of notes and say, here's how it's been going. Here are the different people on the team that I've been interacting with. Here's what I've been learning. Here's how I'm doing this thing better. And now when I write my software, I'm doing this, so that I don't fall into those same kinds of patterns that they would reject my pull request or whatever. And being able to explain like how that interaction has been going. So having a goal is one thing. Having accountability to that goal is an entirely separate thing. Your company, if they agree with those goals, should have some kind of accountability for you. And so having that accountability set up where they say, yes, you can work with that person, but I want to check in like once a month and see how it's going, just so they know it's not a waste of time, or that you're not just out like, you know, having a beer over lunch with them and like calling it learning security or something like that. Like, what are you actually learning? How are you actually implementing it? How is this actually making you better? Meanwhile, for the next year's evaluation thing that you've got coming up in a couple hours, you're writing all this stuff down. This is how I got involved working with the security team. This is how I got better at doing this thing. Here's how, you know, I'm not doing this thing that they would reject. Like, I'm making all of that better for myself, for the company, and presenting that at your next evaluation. So setting the goal is important. Having accountability to that goal is also equally important. But making sure that your manager is helping you find that opportunity, that you don't have to go find that opportunity yourself. I like the company. I like the project. I like the people. I don't like the salary. Fair. Depending on the size of the company, you can sometimes ask for more money. But if it's a small, like, startup company, they may not have that kind of money. So there may be other things like, what if they gave you more time off instead? You know, or could you do some freelance consulting on the side if you need more money? You know, could you do something like, hey, if you can't give me a raise, can I get an extra Friday off every month? And then at some point, you know, those extra Fridays, you know, just take on some extra consulting work or build a little side project or something on that Friday off or something like that. It's not always going to be possible, but you don't know unless you ask. Lopta lost the stream. Not sure why. I'm still live on YouTube and on Twitch, so I'm not sure. Sorry. I'm sitting here staring at these 7-layer dip Pringles, and they're really, really tasty. I'm like, I had to pause and have one. Ooh, combined with sparkling lime hint water. Very tasty. Super tasty. ISO 7-layer Pringles, yeah. Cool. So I think that answered all 3 of your questions, Dunksbren. But I love answering these kinds of questions. So if you've got any follow-up, can you post links? It may let you. You can always DM me on Twitch. Send me a DM. My DMs are open. If you have a link, and I can share it from there. Sorry, I want to make sure that I mute the mic while I'm chewing on a chip. Cool. Who else has career questions? I love answering these. What else did I miss in chat? Lopto was saying a bunch of stuff. It's difficult to imagine a company today where I could succeed and thrive. I don't have that kind of trust anymore. Reloading helped. I had to sit through an ad. Yeah, I might see if there's something I can do about the ads. Like, I want to get rid of the pre-roll ad when you join the stream, but they only do that if you have like a certain number of minutes of ads during the stream. It's a tricky one to try to balance out. Brian says, I could hit you with a career life question all night, but I should probably sleep. I mean, hit me with one before you go, Brian. The ad wasn't terrible if it helps you out. I mean, I don't do this to make money. So, I mean, honestly, I would love to have the ability to go on Twitch and just say, I don't want any ads. But I know that Twitch needs to make money because, you know, they're owned by Amazon, but they still have to handle all their infrastructure costs and staff and stuff. Cool. Doug's friend, do you mind if I share that on stream for everybody to see? I think that would actually be kind of interesting to kind of work through. Hey Zapper, good to see you. Have I ever negotiated non-salary perks like flexible hours, more vacation time? Yes, but it does vary on the company and what they're able to do. You generally have a harder time negotiating for extra time off, but like when I was a manager, I had kind of an unwritten rule with my team that if I needed them to work after hours for anything, that I wanted them to track their time, and I would give them equivalent time off where they didn't have to use their actual time off. So if they had to stay up late because we had an incident and it took them 6 hours to resolve, we would figure out a good time for them to get 6 hours off. Like they'd come in and they'd work like Friday morning for a couple hours and then they'd like take off for the day. And so I always made sure that, I had like a rotating thing where like you had to be on call for a week, and then everybody on the team, like however many people we had, you had to be on call for a week, but then you got the next number of weeks off, you know, as it rotated across the team. But if you had an incident at all during that week, the following week, like as soon as you were not on call, you got time off to make up for it. So yeah, let me share this link, and then so this was sent over by Doug Sprine. What to talk about on one-on-ones. So it's been going well. Love the project. What's not going well? Team priorities. How does my work fit in with company goals? This one, if it's a small company, they're probably going to want you to know the answer to this already. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. They're probably going to want you to know the answer to this already. Things not going well, that's definitely a thing to bring up. But again, this is more for like your team lead and your manager than like the COO. I wouldn't bring this one up with your COO. And then asking for opportunities. Yeah, this is the thing to ask. Again, is the COO in charge of the projects that you actually work on? Maybe not. That might be more a CTO or your team lead, but definitely bring this up with your team lead. Career planning. This is something to talk about with the COO. Like you want a promotion, you want to raise, like what's it going to take to get there? Let's build goals. Let's track, you know, that I'm meeting those goals. Like let's meet every quarter and make sure that I'm on track to meet that goal. That's an important thing to do. Asking for feedback. This is, again, this is probably more like a team lead manager, like direct manager as opposed to COO, because they may not have project level feedback. Even though your company is only 60 or 70 people, they may not know your individual contributions to be able to give you specific feedback. They might just say like, yeah, I'm hearing from other people, you're doing great. That's not really feedback. That's a pat on the back. Giving them feedback again, like this is harder to do to the COO because this would sound to your COO like you're just crapping on your team and you're just being negative. This would be something to bring to your team lead, but bring specifics. Like, how is this team unfocused? Or how can we be spending our time a little bit better? Could we try doing such and such? Brainstorm, again, that would be more of a team lead manager kind of thing. Asking for resources, this would be one to bring up with your COO. Like, hey, is there any additional training that the company can offer or that the company would be willing to pay for that I can go do to make me better at this aspect of my job? 100% ask your COO this in your meeting later. Let me drop this link in chat for everybody if you want to go check it out. I think it's a good way to follow up, but I think understanding which people to bring these questions to, I think would be really important. Brooks O'Brien asked a question. Okay, fine. I feel like I have all sorts of experience in different fields. Could be enough to do consulting on the side to fund the Creative Fund main focus, which is Brooks O'Brien and books. How would you decide which skill set to focus on for consulting, and how would you find people that could use your consultations? Again, this kind of comes back to what are your strengths? For me, like I learned a while back that I'm pretty good at education, as long as I understand my audience. When I first got into being a software teacher, I walked in going, why do people find this hard? Like, programming is easy. Why isn't everybody getting straight A's in this class? But forgetting the fact that I had 20 years of experience walking into that classroom, and most of them had never touched a computer until they got to the school. They were in other careers. They were, pizza delivery drivers or baristas, or, they last worked at a grocery store, but they wanted to learn how to be programmers so they could go get a better job and better their life and so on. But I walked in with 20 years experience going, this is easy. Everybody should be able to do this. And so learning how to be a better educator made me better equipped to be an educator. I know it sounds like circular logic, but being in the classroom made me a better educator for sure. And that helped me understand that I really am an educator at heart. I love learning a thing and then turning around teaching it to someone else. Knowing what your strengths are, like what do you do core as Brian that you feel you're really good at that you could offer to other people. From there, what I would do from a consultation point of view is I would try to give it away like either free or really low cost to like a charitable organization. Because worst case scenario, you get a tax write-off for the hours that you spend. Where they don't necessarily have to charge, or they don't have to pay you money to do it, but you are still providing a service and you're kind of evaluating from that, like, was this actually a valuable experience? Sometimes you'll find that doing that experience for someone else helps them, but maybe really drained you. Or maybe you get super fired up and they're just kind of meh about the whole thing, where they're not nearly as excited as you are. Finding out what works and what doesn't work is a pretty critical part of being a consultant of any kind. For any sort of freelance work or consulting work, figuring out what are you good at, what can you contribute, how are you going to help make them better? And then from there, like finding that freelance work or consulting work is very much like job hunting, where you have to find the right sort of target for that and being able to convey the value that you bring and just say, hey, I've been doing this for 10 years. Here's how I do blah, blah, blah. Here's how it's helped these people. I'd love the opportunity to work with you. Here's some recent experiments that I've done, or, recent freelance work or consulting work. Here's the impact that that's had. I'd like to have an opportunity to work with you too, and then figure it out from there. But it really starts with you having very honest conversation with yourself about what are you really good at? What do you want to do? Where do you want to spend the time? How much do you have energy to do it? Gears are churning. I love it. Love it. Because you have to know what you're good at. I wouldn't do any kind of consulting over something that you want to learn. That's way harder to convince somebody that you're worth taking a shot on for some kind of consultation or consulting work. Much harder to do. Because I've been in tech and I've been helping people with career prep and things like that, it turned into me doing mock interviews. And doing mock interviews has also reinforced I'm good at educating people about those things, but also I can give them the kind of feedback in a mock interview that I can't give in a real interview. And then watching them go succeed and go get jobs and things like that. Not solely from me, because they're the one putting in the work. Like I've had people come back and say like, hey, I got that job because of you. It's like, no, you got the job. I'm the coach. You're the athlete. You're the one doing the hard work. I'm just telling you how to do the work and do it more effectively, more efficiently. But you're the one that actually went out and got the job. So as much as I appreciate the kudos, it was really you that did it. But finding like what makes you happy, like if there is something that you want to go learn it on the side. And then figure out like, is this something where there is a market that I can go help other people with or not? You may find, like, oh, I want to go learn this particular hobby and then go see if I can make money at it. Sometimes to get established in a hobby, you got to dump tons of money, like a 3D printer. Like, oh, I want to go sell things that I can 3D print. It's like, okay, well, you got to buy the printer, you got to buy the filament, you got to learn how to use the printer properly. You got to learn how to print things properly before you ever get around to selling things. And so it could take you 3 to 6 months to get up to speed on all of that, to where you're proficient enough that you understand how well your printer works under certain kind of conditions and certain kinds of models, and which ones are actually worth money at the end of all of that. Because what people are willing to pay for something also depends on the quality of it and how well it was made, and, you know, the colors of filament, and, you know, there are different attributes around that that will make people perceive value in things. But I think a lot of people that understand 3D printing also have a very low perceived value on things. Like I went to a 3D printing show here in Colorado, and I was trying to sell some things, and people would come by my table and go, well, why would I buy this? I can just go do it myself. I'm like, well, you're not my target market to buy this thing. So by all means, go find the model, go print it yourself, knock yourself out, you know. But then I'd have people come by because it was a 3D printing show and people had never seen 3D printing before. And they're like, oh, how much for this thing? You know, give me a couple of bucks for it. All right, cool. And, you know, between that and all the helmets and stuff that I made, I've paid for my 3D printers many, many, many times over. But wanting to learn a hobby in order to go make money is much harder to do. A lot of people now are like, well, I'm just going to go find some AI tool. I'm going to go vibe code some app and I'm going to make $1 million. Like, yeah, you might. Really, really small chance that that's going to happen. Unless you have like a really stellar idea for an app that nobody's ever made, and you have a good way to actually monetize it and market it and run that as a business. But again, if you're not good at running a business, if you've never run a business before, you can go build an app, but you're probably not going to know how to make money on it. Notcher asked in chat, what is my perfect Sunday? I mean, it's still Sunday here for another 2 hours, so this Sunday's been pretty good. Woke up this morning, cooked a bunch of bacon. So we have bacon for the week. Went and did some shopping, got some yummy snacks, and ice cream sundae. No, I knew what you meant based on the spelling. I'm a big banana split guy. I really, really love a Dairy Queen banana split. That would probably be my favorite. Although Costco right now, they have this, it's like a lemonade popsicle kind of thing. It's also really, really good. Brian follows up and said, I would definitely pull from what I already do and have the consulting enhance that skill at the same time, pitch deck, outreach, and so on. Okay. Yeah, if you've got the time and energy to put into it, absolutely do that. Boa Cedar, welcome in. Acacia Grove, welcome in as well. Suddenly a whole bunch of folks coming in. Welcome to everybody. My name is Ian. I do career coaching. I do mock interviews. I've also got free newsletters, all kinds of stuff. We got all kinds of links and stuff we can drop in chat here. But yeah, welcome in everybody. Let's do newsletters, and I've also got a bunch of stuff up on YouTube. And if you want to know like the best way to get introductions for jobs and stuff like that on LinkedIn, go check out that link. Tons of other links like that if you want to try different things out and explore. Yeah, so I do career coaching on Sundays, and then Thursdays I tend to do live coding. I've been building a lot of interactive types of things with a program called Streamer.bot, and building a lot of custom controls and games and stuff like that. And we're in an ad. All right. Well, everyone else is going to be stuck in an ad for a minute. Let's see. Did I miss anything else? Let's go back and look at chat here. Loftus says, my last job, I never got to meet a manager in the company and was there for 5 years. That's a bad company for sure. I just don't think a banana split qualifies as Sunday. Okay, fair enough. What would make a good Sunday? I mean, I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't like anything super complex. We have like a couple of frozen yogurt places where I'll go like mix a couple of different types of ice cream or frozen yogurt together. And then just get like whatever kind of sprinkles sound kind of good. Hot fudge and peanuts, maybe. Depends what kind of mood I'm in. I'm also not like really into heavily sweet things either. My whole appetite thing kind of shifted a number of years ago. I'm more into like the salty, savory kind of stuff as opposed to sweet kinds of treats. I'm a big fan of just plain chocolate ice cream, honestly. Not a lot of extra toppings and ingredients in there. Like just give me plain chocolate ice cream and I'm happy. So, LinkedIn waste of time, or is that sentiment due to only the loudest critics being heard? I don't think it's a waste of time. I think it's an important part of networking if you're going to look for a job at any point. I got my dream job from LinkedIn that I currently work still. Great. I've nurtured my LinkedIn network to the point where when I left my last job last fall, I had another, like I basically reached out. The first people that I reached out to were people that I interviewed with just a year prior and said like, hey, I'm back in the market. You made me a job offer before, do you still have any roles open? Can we chat? One of those actually worked into a role. That person had left the company where they had made me an offer. They had moved on to another company. And I reached out to him and said like, hey, I see that you're at this new spot. I'm back on the market. Can we chat? And he basically pulled a bunch of strings, and I was like this close to getting a job offer from the company. And then the CEO called a hiring freeze at the last minute and I didn't get the job. But because I take care of my network and I'm, pretty much constantly on LinkedIn, just networking with people. I'm not really posting as much on LinkedIn, but I network a lot on LinkedIn and I reach out to people and I chat with people on LinkedIn, to where when that job fell through, I reached out to another recruiter. So that job hunt prior, I had 6 job offers. 5 of them for full-time work, 1 as a contract kind of thing. And then I had just started getting into the interview process with another company. And I'm like, you know what, logistically, I'm not going to get through all your interviews. I've already got a bunch of offers I need to pick from. So sorry. Skip ahead to last November when I was looking for a job. I basically reached out to the other companies that made me offers and, and put out some sort of feelers there. But then I also reached out to this recruiter who had reached out to me and I didn't have time to finish their interview process. And I'm like, hey, I'm back on the market. If you've still got opportunities, like I'd love to chat. And a month later, I got a job offer from that company and that's where I work now. And it's been absolutely fantastic. I wish I'd found them, I wish I had actually gone through their interview process a year prior, because it's a fantastic company. I love where I work right now. But everyone's going to be a little different about what they want. And, do they find LinkedIn to be a waste of time? Is it just a bunch of people like stroking each other's egos and whatever? For me, I see the value in LinkedIn from a job point of view, because that's where the recruiters hang out. And so if you're going to be looking for a job, you have to go where the recruiters can find you. And that means being on LinkedIn. So if you're not a fan of LinkedIn, you don't have to be on LinkedIn all the time. But if you're going to reach out to recruiters, that's probably the number one place you're going to have to be to reach out to recruiters for sure. I missed a bunch of stuff in chat. Hey, Pezla, good to see you in chat as well. And for all the other new folks that came in as well. Is affogato considered a Sunday? I would say probably not. Lopta says, I can't use LinkedIn for finding work, but it's a nice way to keep in touch with former colleagues and to keep in touch with what's going on in the industry. Yeah, I would say there's probably still some amount of opportunity to find work on LinkedIn, but it also depends a little bit on the type of industry that you're in. But I will say, in my experience, especially in the tech industry, LinkedIn is where most of the recruiters are hanging out. And so if you're looking to network with a recruiter and get noticed and potentially get interviews, I think LinkedIn is a valuable place to be. Job search function of LinkedIn has no concept of geography. Yeah, Indeed and LinkedIn are both like good places to be for that kind of stuff. But what I would do is I would find a job on Indeed and then go find the company on LinkedIn. Even better though, when you apply for that job, go to their website and apply through their website. Ultimately, Indeed, LinkedIn, and their company website, they're probably all going into the same applicant tracking system like Greenhouse or Workday or something like that. But if you go through their webpage to actually apply, sometimes it'll flag like you actually came through their website instead of LinkedIn. And that just shows like an extra level of interest because you went through their website instead. So it doesn't always guarantee things, but it will be better. I was listening to a recruiter recently where he said if, and this guy's like a third party recruiter that tries to like give resumes to other companies, which I have a very small amount of respect for. But what this guy was saying was if you see a job and the job already has like 100 applicants, you're probably too late. And unfortunately with AI tooling and stuff right now, people are like mass applying for jobs using AI. And it's kind of messing up their applications, but it's also burying HR people in these applications. So it makes it much harder for recruiters to find you. So this is also why networking on LinkedIn is really important. Even if you don't need a job, reach out to recruiters, get to know companies, get to know people at the companies. And if they leave the company and they go somewhere else, great. You've just expanded your network to some other company. In my mind, it is worth the time and the effort. I've gotten my last several jobs now through connections on LinkedIn. It's absolutely worth it. In my opinion, it's worth it. Not everyone's going to feel the same way, and that's okay too. I think getting a lot of opinions from a lot of different people is really important. But I think that it's an important step to be where the recruiters are. And if they're actively chatting and posting and whatever on LinkedIn, reaching out to them, connecting with them, I think is an important aspect of the job hunt for sure. Notcher says, to battle people mass sending applications with AI, I just fabricate my resume with impressive credentials. Yeah, the problem with that though is as soon as they call you on it and they prove that something is BS, then the whole resume comes into question and they're just going to throw it out. Last job still thinks I'm an MIT grad. I mean, if that works for you, okay. But I mean, as soon as you get into an interview where, because I've run interviews where somebody embellished a lot on their resume and we called them out on it in the middle of the interview. And we started asking questions and they couldn't answer, some of the questions. And it's like, okay, the interview's over, at that point, like what were you expecting to happen? Like it's one thing to like get the interview and then like try to fudge your way through it, but that's not typically the advice I would give. I've always been a do things with integrity kind of guy, but I'd admit to fabrication which shows integrity. No, it doesn't though, because you lied in the first place. So as a manager, if I saw a resume and you said, oh yeah, I fabricated that, okay, the interview's over. Like I'm done talking to you because what else are you going to make up? And am I going to be able to trust anything that you do on the job? Or are you going to do other shady things? But you didn't lie twice. That doesn't matter. You lied in the first place. So to me as a manager, I would throw that out and I would stop the interview. Just saying, like that's how I would be conducting that kind of interview. As soon as they find anything suspicious on your resume, it puts the whole thing into suspicion and they're more likely to just not move forward. They don't want to take the risk. So it's really not worth it. Like if you say in your resume, like, oh yeah, my last job was at, some FANG company. It's like, chances are pretty good they know people at those companies and they're going to call and they're going to do like background checks and referral checks and whatever, even if you don't give them like a specific Like if they don't ask you specifically for references, they can still call the company and say like, hey, we're just calling to check to see whether this person actually ever worked there in this type of role. And as soon as they come back and say no, you're going to get rejected from that interview process. So you have to be really careful about that stuff. I've also I've also coached people through, like, one guy contacted me after the fact and he's like, yeah, I got a job offer from a company and I lied to them about having another job offer from a different company because I wanted to negotiate a higher salary. And the other company said, we can't match that salary, so good luck. And they pulled their offer. And so they had 0 offers at that point. I'm like, yeah, you never lie about having another offer. Like, you know, you need to just explain why you're worth more money. If you want more money, just explain why you want more money and be able to prove it. Like, bring the receipts of these are the skills I have and the impact I can have at your company. This is why I'm worth this additional salary, and let them counter from there. But you never want to lie about that stuff. It's so easy to get called out on that. And then, yeah, you get a reputation for it. So sending applications with AI is just lying, saying you're sending them. For me, my feeling with AI is like an AI generated resume isn't always, it's not always putting your voice forward on that kind of stuff. So in all of the newsletters that I send out, the second message that I put in all the newsletters is what I think about responsible use of AI in your job hunt. 100% use AI to research companies. Find out, what does this company care about? Because that will help you immensely to communicate effectively to them why you're the ideal candidate for that job. Whether it's writing the resume, writing a cover letter, networking with people, here's the value I bring to your company, and explaining it to them in their own language and from their point of view of why what you do is going to matter to them. Using AI tools to apply, though, a lot of times AI will go through and rewrite your resume or rewrite your cover letter, and it's so closely mirroring their job post that a lot of recruiters now are looking at those and they're just immediately throwing them out because they can spot that they're AI generated and they're just throwing them out. Meanwhile, they're getting buried in AI applications and they actually have to screen and go find real people. And that's why more than ever, I think getting a referral at a company is way more likely to get you into the interview process. Because if I walk to my HR team and say, like, here's a resume from a real person, they're like, oh my God, it's a real person. I don't have to go through like 1,000 of these AI slop applications to try to find a real person. They're more likely going to give you a phone call because you have a referral. But using AI to send resumes is also disingenuous. If a hire told me, yeah, I didn't apply, AI did it for me. Yeah, because it doesn't show that you have legit interest in the company. Because you're just using these tools to mass apply, you know, and people are like, oh yeah, I had this thing, go apply for 1,000 jobs. Now I got 25 interviews. Well, do the math on that. Like how many, that's like, if you send out 1,000 resumes and you get 25 interviews, that's what? 1 interview for every 40 applications? No. So 1 to 40? Like, that's kind of a bad ratio. I mean, my last job hunt, you know, this last fall when this other job didn't work out, like literally I had 1 company in the pipeline and I almost got the job offer from them. Like the person actually submitted my paperwork to the finance team to generate the offer letter for me. And then literally the next day, the CEO called a hiring freeze. After that, I applied to, I think 12 companies or 15 companies, and I got interviews with most of them. And as soon as I got a job offer, I took it. And so I didn't even wait around for most of the companies. But the job hunt prior to that, I applied at 12 and I had 6 offers out of the 12. And that was, sorry, I applied at 20. I got a handful of rejections. So out of 20, I got 6 offers. That's a way better ratio, as opposed to like I sent out 1,000 resumes and I got 25 interviews. And then as soon as you get into that interview and they say like, hey, why are you interested in our company? And you have no idea what they do. You have no idea what the role is. You're not going to come up with really good answers to give them. you're going to end up explaining like, oh, I did a thing, but you're not going to explain it in a way that's relevant to them, that shows genuine interest in who they are and what they do. So yeah, as a recruiter, I'm just going to say, okay, cool, thanks for applying. And then I'm going to send you a rejection, because it shows that you're like, you don't really care about the company. While knowing it's terrible for the environment, infringed on intellectual, yeah, I mean, there are aspects of that about AI as well. I mean, I do a lot of local AI for stuff here instead of using like frontier models, but there are good and bad things about using AI. I find using AI to research a company, to say like, what drives this company? What do they care about more than anything? And then I shape all of my conversation around that when I talk to a company. Lapta says, if I'm going into an interview, I want to know who the company is and what they do before I even step foot in the door. I mean, I want to know what the company is doing before I even apply for the job. Like, I'm not even going to apply for a job if something about the company doesn't sit right with me. If they, you know, let's say, you know, I don't like big tobacco, or I don't like big oil or something like that. And that's like the number one company that company serves. It's like, am I going to be okay with that? I think you have to evaluate a lot of that stuff before even applying, because applying to a job and then realizing like, oh wait, I actually don't believe in what this company is doing. Why even apply? Why waste your time? Go find a company that you are going to care about. Go apply there. Officially heading out. Brian, good to see you. Hit me up on Discord for sure. Let's chat. I know I missed a bunch of other stuff in chat. Let me scroll back here a little bit. Dunkspren says, I almost landed a good job, but I didn't do well in the CEO interview. He asked me what type of people you don't like to work with. And I said, know-it-all people. And then he shut it down and ended the interview after 5 minutes. Yeah, that's a little tough. I mean, you have to be careful answering those kinds of questions. It shows that you can be a little bit diplomatic in how you interact with other coworkers. And you could just say like, people who have strong opinions that they're not willing to budge on for any reason. Like I would phrase it that way. Like people who are unwilling to hear other people's points of view. Like I think how you word it, I think can come across important as well. Notcher says it's hard to care about companies. Yes and no. There's some companies that I've really, really enjoyed working for because of what they do and who they serve and the kind of product that they make or how they do their business or what they believe in as a business. I've actually really enjoyed some of those types of jobs and still feel very fondly about some of those companies where, you know, if an opportunity came up, would I go back to that company? Maybe. It's not like that with every company. A lot of times once you get in and you kind of see how that company actually runs, like you might really, really like the company, but once you get a job there, you're like, maybe I don't want to work here after all. Sometimes you don't realize that until after you've taken the job, and that's okay too. Just move on. It's easier said than done. I know there's like a heavy dose of privilege with like, oh, just go find another job, because that's not always easy to do. But again, if you're constantly networking with people and you're constantly reaching out to people and talking about the things that you're building and showing the impact that you can bring, getting another job isn't as hard. It's really coming down to how you're communicating, why you're looking for a job, and what that next opportunity is for you. But when you're in the interview with a company, being able to explain things from their point of view is really important as to why you're a good candidate for that job. The example that I use, and I don't recommend anybody go get a job at Amazon, but like this is kind of the go-to example because, you know, a lot of folks kind of understand this. The thing that drives Amazon more than anything else is the end customer. That's everything to them as a company. And so if you're explaining things on your resume like, oh, you know, I did this thing and saved a bunch of money, and I did this thing and I made this software faster. It's like, okay. But if I explain like, hey, I did this thing and I made the user experience 20% faster, now those recruiters at Amazon are going to be like, oh, you care about the user. Cool. So do we. Like, this is somebody that we need to talk to because they're speaking the same language as us. And so understanding what drives a company is going to help you get through those interviews better. It's not just Amazon, it's any company choosing to use Amazon. I don't necessarily agree. I think companies choosing to use Amazon, it's not that they're going to care about the end user or the end customer. Like I'm talking like Amazon's e-commerce, like actual Amazon.com, not AWS. People that sell things on Amazon, they're making products and they're selling those for profit, and that's what drives them. Yeah, maybe they care about how many people get to see their product so they have the opportunity to buy it. That doesn't necessarily mean that they care about the customer. They care about making a product and selling a product. Where at Amazon, they are driven by the customer. Like everything they do is about the customer. They know about what Amazon is. Well, sure, but I'm talking more from a perspective of like being an employee of Amazon, not somebody who's using Amazon as a platform or using Amazon as a store. I'm talking about like Amazon, the company. For Microsoft, it's about business adoption. You go apply for a job at Microsoft, everything that you explain to them, everything on your resume needs to be about here's how this project I worked on brought in an additional like 20% enterprise level customers. That is going to stand out to Microsoft more than Amazon. Amazon's not going to care because they've already got such a huge grip on the enterprise market. Amazon's not going to care as much about explaining that on your resume or explaining that in an interview. It's like, okay, it's good to know, but like that's not important to them, but it's important to Microsoft. Am I having internet issues? I'm not seeing dropped frames. I still see good connectivity everywhere. Is anybody else seeing issues? I think we hit a disconnect. I meant the morality of using Amazon. I mean, fair, but like we're talking about interviewing and like talking to the company about things. Yeah, it looks like I froze on YouTube. Or am I still on? No, I'm still there. Yeah, we're talking about like interviewing and like sending out resumes and stuff like that. Me too. Good to see you in chat. If you had to guesstimate, what percentage of interviews still do LeetCode style questions? Too many. I'm not a fan of LeetCode. There are ways that you can do LeetCode better. As far as like studying, it's still, unfortunately, it's still like an important part of the interview process. But I think that there are too many companies that are relying on LeetCode to determine whether you're a good programmer. And I don't think that LeetCode makes you a better programmer. That's a hill I'll die on. Link return 404. Okay. Let me try this real quick. Oh, wrong link. Use this one instead. Take off the grinding part. It's just LeetCode. I have a couple of YouTube videos on like how to do LeetCode better. Also, if anybody's been on Twitch for a while and you know Finite Singularity makes a lot of plugins for OBS and a lot of streaming tools and things like that. I interviewed him a number of years ago and we had a really good chat about like, does LeetCode actually make you a better programmer? And we both said no. Like, yeah, it proves that you're a good problem solver, but it doesn't prove that you're going to be a good long-term programmer. So it shows that under pressure, you can dissect a problem and come up with a solution. And it shows that, yes, you can code in front of somebody else. But honestly, it's a very bad way to interview people. I think it puts a lot of anxiety on the person who is being interviewed And a lot of interviewers tend to feel like this elitist, well, I know the answer. Why don't you know the answer? It's like, well, because you've been giving that interview question like over and over and over. And so you know, everything about it and you know the best way to answer it and so on. And it's not a very indicative means of, are you going to be a long-term success at that company? Software engineering is about communicating. I mean, communicating like how you think through a problem and how to solve a problem, sure. Now, I think coming out of like, just seeing the comment from Mita here, like LeetCode's similar to college, it shows you have commitment and can learn things. I think that LeetCode is a good sort of challenge if you're coming out of education. Like if you're just graduating, yeah. Let's make sure this person can code. Let's make sure that they can problem solve. But for a senior dev or somebody who's been in the industry for more than 10 years, do we really need to subject them to another LeetCode challenge? It's like, at what point should your resume kind of be enough? And like, let's have conversation about the kinds of things you've built, the kind of impact that you've had, what kind of impact can you bring to our company? And maybe work on some little project or something like that to prove that you understand what we do and how we do what we do. But like, at what point is it less beneficial to actually do LeetCode problems for senior level developers? RC says, I went out of my way to make a question I ask when interviewing people to not be LeetCode. 3/4 of my interviews have ended with the interview saying, I really like that problem. It was different from what I expected. I didn't expect to be complimented on my interview question. My favorite ones were actually at a FANG company where I worked for a little while, where they didn't do LeetCode. They basically wanted to see how well you could write object-oriented code, where, if they gave you a problem, you didn't try to cram everything in like a single software class, like you understood like proper sort of isolation of your data and proper communication across classes and, dependency injection and things like that, because that's what we do in the real world. And it, while it was, the one problem that I liked the most was like a little game, like, you've got a game board and you've got a player on the map and you need to, you need to render the map and show which direction they're facing. And then you move them around the grid. And, if they go off the one side, they come back on the other side. Now let's put obstacles in their way and like, check to see whether a list of instructions of like move forward, turn left, move forward, turn right, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if it brings them back to where they started. Like, the logic of moving something around a map is pretty trivial, but understanding the good way of engineering your software to where you're not putting everything in a single class and you understand sort of the breakdown of responsibility between different classes and how they communicate and whatever was actually a really, really fun interview. It was like my favorite one. My whole career, it's been my favorite one. Meta says, I've been coding since I was 12. Never had a job though, because I ended up on disability instead. LeetCode is something I never found fun, but feel like I need to get decent at easy or mediums to at least have a decent chance of landing a gig. I agree. Especially if you don't have professional experience, they're probably going to subject you to LeetCode. But again, I hate saying it depends. I need like an it depends counter. It does depend on the company where you're applying. They're not all going to make you do LeetCode, but a high percentage of them will. And honestly, it started back in, I want to say like 2009, 2010 with Google. Google started asking these kinds of questions and everyone wanted to be Google at the time because they were the hot thing on the market. Yeah, we need an it depends command for sure. Oh, it's just pronounced me too. Oh, okay, gotcha. Everybody wanted to be Google, and so everybody else started asking those kinds of questions. But when Google first started asking these back in like 2009, 2010, it was more like how many golf balls fit in a school bus kinds of questions. And it was meant more to like hear how you do problem solving, things like that. And everyone else is like, oh, those are great questions. We should ask those too. And then Google actually published a white paper and they're like, yeah, like those questions are kind of dumb. You know, we didn't find good signals, or once people started explaining online, like these are the kinds of questions that Google asks, everybody came in with the exact same answer. And so like they became useless. And of course, the rest of the world is like, yeah, we're not going to ask those questions. Those questions are dumb. And so then Google switched to LeetCode and everybody else switched to LeetCode. Lopta says, I don't think I qualify for disability, but my daughter would. I'd love to find work that we could both do. Yeah. I mean, finding something where you can work with people you enjoy being around is definitely important. But yeah, like companies, I think it was sort of a self-perpetuating problem within companies, because companies started asking LeetCode, and then the people at those companies left and went to other companies, and they're like, well, here's, you know, this is the way that we interviewed at Google or at Facebook or at Amazon or whatever. We gave out these kinds of problems, so they would just continue it at all these other companies. And now suddenly everybody does those kinds of questions. When you can find a company where they're like, we're not going to ask you a LeetCode problem, we're going to have you work on a project, or we're going to have you, you know, do this or that, or we're going to have you shadow for a day, you still have to be kind of careful that they're not asking you for a ton of free work. You have to be careful that they're not going to be like, hey, go build us this project that's going to take 20 hours. It's like, I'll give you like 3 or 4 hours. If I'm applying for a job with a company where I really care about the company and I really like what they do and I really want to get a job there, I'm still only going to give them a couple hours of my time, because I've got other interviews going on. I might have another full-time job. Like, I'm not going to have 20 hours to put into a project. I'm just not. And so you still need to be careful, even if you do find companies that don't ask LeetCode, that they're not also asking for things out of the range of normal. So I think if enough of us kind of push back on these companies, the companies will kind of change their mind. But I think in today's market too, it's also like, well, if you don't want to, I've got 1,000 other applications here. You know, somebody in that list is going to want to do this, or they're going to be willing to put up with that. I think that there does need to be a bit of a course correction within companies around that kind of stuff, around what kinds of questions are actually good indicators that you're going to be a good long-term person at that company. And unfortunately, right now in the tech industry, LeetCode is still very prevalent. So at least understanding the core concepts around the different kinds of algorithms and when to use them and what they're not good for is also really good to communicate when you're working on these kinds of challenges, and say, I could do it this way, I could do it this way, this one's going to be better, here's why, and then go build it. But that does take study. I would say you could probably study more than grind LeetCode, and you'd be just as good at LeetCode. I've interviewed people who have done like, oh, I just grinded like 1,000 problems on LeetCode, and I give them a custom thing that is non LeetCode, and they completely fall apart. It's like, well, what good did all that grinding do when you don't understand how to break a problem down and why we use a particular kind of algorithm? Like, that's what I do in my mock interviews, at least. I come up with custom questions all the time. And it's interesting to watch people not be able to solve them because they spend so much time memorizing the syntax of how to get through a particular kind of problem that they don't actually learn the strategy behind it. And they just memorize the syntax of it. And then you get into a problem as soon as you've faced something that you've never had to deal with before. Suddenly you're tripping over yourself and you have no idea what to do. Lopta says, there's so many people looking for work. I don't think we're in a position to push back on much at all. Smaller companies, I think, are going to be more open to it than bigger companies, because bigger companies, they're going to have thousands of applicants either way. But I think if you can sit down with a recruiter and say like, hey, here's why this kind of question is not a good indicator of what I do day to day. Here's project work I've done. Here are other things that I've done. Like, I'm happy to take on some kind of small project for a couple of hours worth of work, but these kinds of LeetCode problems just are not indicative of how I'm going to work day to day. I was relaying a story just yesterday to somebody about one of the worst interview questions that I've had in recent years. Probably this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was applying for a job with a company, and I won't name the company, but they had an opening, and I'm like, it would be really fun to work there. And I applied for a job, and I got into the interview process, and the guy came on the call, and whatever, we did our introductions. He said, okay, cool. I'm going to give you a latitude and longitude, and I'm going to give you another list of latitudes and longitudes, and I want you to find the top 3 latitudes and longitudes that are closest to the first one that I give you. And honestly, like, most of my brain power was like, you don't do anything with geolocation. You don't do anything with latitude and longitude as a company. Like, why are you giving me this as a problem to solve? And honestly, most of my brain was stuck on like that. I was able to figure out the core of the problem, around, like, it's a heap problem. And, you put things on a heap, and then the heap automatically sorts it, and so on. But I got stuck on, how do I turn a latitude and longitude into like a single value that will still be unique enough? Like, you can't just add the numbers together, because lots of other latitudes and longitudes, when you add them together, would give you that same value. And at the end of the interview, the guy's like, well, yeah, you could have just used so-and-so's principle or whatever. And I looked it up later, and it was some mathematician from the 1800s that had figured out a way of turning latitude and longitude things into like unique values. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to memorize like some 1800s math algorithm, especially for a company that doesn't do anything with geolocation. Like, why would I know that? But this guy was all high and mighty and was like, oh, you could have just blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, like, even if I got the job, I would never want to work with that guy on the team. Unfortunately, it was like a 15-person company, and I would have had to work with that guy every single day. And I knew the CEO, and I gave them some feedback saying, awful interview, awful interviewer, awful question. Like, what's up with this? And thanks anyway. So, yeah, I think we have to be realistic enough as companies to ask the right kinds of questions for what we do. Me Too says, I find it interesting they don't just sit down and have a technical conversation. I can often gauge one's skill level just by hearing how they talk about tech, the language they use, the ideas they present. I think it needs to be an honest conversation, though, where you can catch them off guard and give them like really unique scenarios to find out what have they done, what have they not done, like what have they studied, because anybody can kind of BS their way through some answers. Like RC Maniac says, it's easier said than done. But I agree, like, having those kinds of conversations is infinitely better. But it's not always indicative of like, are you going to be able to do the job? So it's a balance. It's a balance either way. We got ads coming up again. I've only got one snooze left, so I think we'll let this one play. They're going to start in 45 seconds, and I think they're going to last about a minute. So yeah, hang through the ads if you wouldn't mind, and then we'll keep answering some questions. These are good conversations for sure. I'm going to snack on some Pringles during the ad break. So I will be chomping, but I will mute the microphone so you don't hear me chomping. But yeah, definitely keep bringing these kinds of questions and discussion points. I love talking about this kind of stuff. We've had some really good conversation around like interview challenges and AI usage in the workplace and things like that. So we'll see everybody back in about a minute or so. We got ads in like 3 seconds. So we'll see you back soon. All right, 10 seconds till we're back from ads. All right, welcome back from ads. Me Too asked a question right at the end of the ad break. Any advice for preparing for behaviorals for someone who has years of hobbyist experience but has never been hired or worked in a team environment? Higher Lower is it's a community-based game where the game will pick a number from 1 to 100, and everybody playing puts numbers in chat, and it averages those out together as a community. It says, okay, the community's average was 60. You need to guess lower than 60. And so it takes everybody's guesses and averages them together. It's pretty fun. It's just a little game idea that I came up with for a chat game. 556167. That sounds like an old ICQ number or something from back in the day. But welcome in. So for someone who has years of hobbyist experience, never been hired or worked in a team, I mean, the behavioral questions are going to need to center around the needs that you have as a company. So if you need them to be a team player, you need to ask, like, tell me about team involvement. Tell me about, yeah, Lopta's got a great response there. Now that's stuck in my head, Lopta, thank you. I wish I could play copyrighted music on the stream. So I would definitely switch over to that. What does your company need? Me Too. If you need them to be a team player, then they need to be able to describe how they can work on a team. If they have hobbyist experience, they need to be able to explain how that's relevant at a professional level and how they can bring the skill and impact that they've had even just at a hobbyist level and bring that to your company. So it's more than just behavioral questions. There's going to need to be like a skills assessment as well, that they can actually bring the level of skill that you need. If you're looking for just behavioral questions, though, I mean, my behavioral newsletter goes through a lot of that stuff if you've ever subscribed and kept those messages. But I would be asking a lot of questions around teamwork. If you already know that they're coming in and they don't have the level of professional experience that your company needs, then you need to hear, like, how have you quickly learned something and been able to apply it to something that mattered to somebody else? Like, it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I got a 3D printer and, you know, I started getting like really bad prints and here's how I figured it out. It's like, okay, fine. But like, tell me about a time that you actually had to learn something quickly and apply it for somebody else's benefit, not just yours. And they might need some time to think about an answer on that. I'm asking from the opposite perspective. I'm the interviewee, not the interviewer. Gotcha. Okay. So in that scenario, again, you need to talk about the impact that you bring to the company. So if you have a hobbyist level, like, you know, let's just use programming because, you know, I'm a programmer. If you've only ever done like mobile development as a hobbyist and you want to go change your career to be a mobile developer, you need to explain to them the motivation behind it, but also how the background you do have makes you a relevant job candidate for that job at their company. It's going to be a little tricky to answer some of those questions because you don't necessarily know what they're going to ask. But again, it really comes down to the storytelling and the relevancy and maybe a small dose of social engineering to like make them like you. But at the end of the day, they need to walk away from the interview feeling confident that you can do the job, that you can step into the role and hit the ground running in some way, or that you're at least capable of learning something quickly and on the fly and being able to apply that knowledge. So being able to think about those kinds of questions and how you might come up with an answer that's going to matter to them, I think is going to take some study and some like really important sort of self-reflection and honesty with yourself about what am I good at? You know, you know, maybe you're just getting into programming and you've kind of tinkered with it and now you want to go get a job as a programmer. You're basically coming in at, you know, a junior, almost intern level. If you don't have formal education in it, it's going to be a little bit harder because some jobs, they're going to require some amount of education. And so you need to explain how your experience makes up for the lack of education. And it's not always just a duration of doing a thing because, like, let's say you get a job as a programmer, as a new programmer in the industry, and you learn how to build web pages and you build a form for people to like do their login, their username and password. And you do that over and over and over and over and over for 2 years. Do you have 2 years experience, or do you have like 1 month of experience 24 times over? Because you haven't really grown. You're still just doing the same thing over and over. Like, you're the best person in the company to put a login page together, but that's all you've ever done. That's not really 2 years of experience. Really, I mean, when you think about it, you're just doing the same thing for 2 years, but you're not continuing to grow. And so if you're coming in as a hobbyist, when they need like a certain amount of experience, they need like a range of experience, not just a little bit of experience in one thing that you've done over and over. They need like a broad range of experience. And so being able to explain the kinds of things you've done as a hobbyist and how it kind of covers that range of subject matter, I think is going to be an important way to communicate that you're a good candidate for the job. Hope that helps. Cool. Let's do a game of higher or lower. And so the point of the game here. So once I start the game, you're going to do ! join in chat if you want to join the game. And then once you join the game, only people that actually do the join command will actually play the game. So I'm going to join it here. We'll have about 60 seconds for other people to join. And then once the game starts, it'll tell you on the screen here when the next round has started. And as soon as you see that message pop up, then you need to put a number in chat. It's going to average them all out, and only the first number that you put in is going to work. I've written Bang Tab for 10 years. I mean, I like Emmett. Emmett's pretty fun for sure. All right, we got 7 people in the game. I think this is most people we've had play the game. And so basically what's going to happen every round is whatever we all guess, it's going to average all those together, and then it'll compare against the random number that it chose. And we all kind of have to hone in on what the final answer is. So, and there's almost always going to be that one person that's just going to throw off the average just by putting a 1 in chat every time. Hey, Bets, good to see you. Unfortunately, you just barely missed that window. Cool. So we're going to start the first round in just a couple seconds. We've got 7 people playing. And, all right, so first round. So type in a number from 1 to 100. I always like starting right in the middle. And then we'll figure out from there. So our average right now is going to be in the 40s. Average might be around 50. Lopta raised it up by throwing an 84 in there. Also, the percentage of points you get will also depend on how many rounds you actually participate in. So if you miss a round, you're going to get fewer points if we do win. So keep that in mind. All right, I think our average is still going to come out around like 60. Nope, 52. Okay, so we all need to collectively guess higher than 52. So next round. So guess higher than 52, unless you want to be, you know, that person and throw a 1 in chat or something like that. I always expect RC Maniac to be that person. No, just kidding. Cool. So again, it's going to average all our numbers together and it'll tell us again, do we guess higher or lower? 1 in chat. Haha. All right, well, let's see what this average came out at. I wasn't really paying attention. Okay, so our average guess was 71 and it's higher than that. So now we need to guess higher than 71. All right, so let's go. Let's see. I'm going to do, I always like to do like right in the middle. Bet's good to see you. I'm doing well. Had a pretty busy weekend. I'm going to have a bit of a busy week this week. I got a business trip next week. But hopefully get to see RC Maniac at the end of that trip. So we'll see whether that's going to work out or not. Hope you're doing well. So this this little chat game that we have going on is okay. So it's lower than 85, but it's higher than 71, not inclusive. So it's between 72 and 84. So somewhere between 72 and 84. I'm gonna do like 75. So this game, it's basically collecting all of our numbers and it's averaging them together, and we're all trying to like get to the right thing. I mean, we're only in round 4, so we're gonna finish this. I think we're gonna be fine. Unless somebody comes in and like guesses outside of that range or something to really throw off our average, but we'll see. All right, so it's higher than 78, but lower than 85. So it's 79 to 84, somewhere between 79 and 84. So I'm going to do 82. So, I mean, we're going to guess this pretty easily. I think I need to raise the range from 1 to 100. I think we need to do like, you know, number from 1 to 250 or 1 to 500 or something. I think to make it a little harder. Yeah, binary search approach. I mean, it works every time. Me too. It works every time. We're gonna hone in on it. I always like to split the difference. Okay, so it's lower than 82, higher than 78. So it's either 79, 80, or 81. So yeah, I'm just gonna throw an 80 in here. So our average is gonna be 80. Oh, 81 got raised up. Lopta came in with a low ball. It's all good though. Wait, is Lopta even playing? Is Lopta even? I think Lopta is in the game. We had 7 people in the game, right? So I mean, it's one of 3 numbers. So we've narrowed it down that much at least. So it's lower than 81, higher than 79. I wonder what the answer could be. Mita throwing an 8 in there. Thanks, Mita. You just dragged our average down. We're going to be like down in the 60s somewhere. We done broke it. You done messed up, Aaron. Can't type 80. I mean, maybe not this round, but next round, I think we'll all get there. Yeah, dragged our average down to 70. We need to get higher than that. All right, here we go. Round 8. All right, let's get some numbers in there. Whoops, typoed. I pulled a me too. This is great. Love this. I'm fired. Oh no. And Karen comes in with 100. But I mean, maybe, right? I mean, you all guess high enough, you know, you might cancel out my average. I mean, we still got to 70. All right. No, this isn't a job interview. All right, let's all drop some 80s in chat here. We'll finish up the game here. Oh, Zapper coming in with an 81. Good thing the average is still going to bring us in at 80. So, assuming it won't take numbers over 100. I mean, I could. I mean, I can set the game to whatever I want. So, if you do go outside of the range, I think it'll tell you it's outside the range. I can also, so the other thing that I set on the game is you can take the first number that you put in chat or the last number you put in chat before the round ends. And so if you do need to correct it, you can. I've got it working on only the first number that you put in. Wait, guess lower. Is it 79? As it said, it was higher than 78 before. Average was 80. Oh, it's higher than 78. Okay, I guess the answer is 79. I thought we had narrowed it down to 80. And it won't take floating point numbers either. It has to be just an integer value. But yeah, for me too, it won't matter because we're only taking the first one. So all right, you can't enter your guess. Oh, that's because you put it in before the round actually started, Lopta. All right, and it looks like that one actually awarded most of the points. So you'll see some of the point values are a little bit off. So 556167, they got more points than Zapper. It's because Zapper missed a round. So it's only going to award points based on the number of rounds you actually participate. So if you participate in all the rounds, you get all the points available. And also, if you ever guess the exact number in chat, it will also give you bonus points. So it was a fun little game. Should we do a higher number? You want to guess like 1 to 500 or 1 to 250? We can go a little higher if you want a different range. 0 to 255, that's a good one. No, 64K, that would be a little too much, me too. Yeah, let's do 255. I think that'd be a good range. Let's see, where's our number here? So the range top, we'll go from 100, we'll go to 255. We can't do 0, unfortunately. It's going to do 1 to 255. So we'll set that to 255, and I'm gonna up our points. I'm gonna start us with a pool of 100,000 points, and our decay value is going to be 9,500. So it won't go down quite 10,000 points a round. But we'll also say if you happen to guess the exact number, you're also going to win 100,000 points. Sound good? So we'll give away tons and tons of points here. Give me my unsigned 16-bit int. Yeah, that would be a bit much. Guess a number between 1 and 4 billion. All right, well, let's do another game, higher, lower. So bigger stakes on this one. All right, exclamation point join in chat if you want to get on in the game. So we're going to be guessing a number between 1 and 255, and we've got 100,000 points on the line. So collectively, you know, that number is going to come down every round, but we all win that number, depending again on how many rounds you actually participate in. And thank you for helping me stress test these games, by the way. This is super helpful. We did have a problem the last time that we ran the game where it didn't give everybody the points. So I will try to correct it if you care about fake currencies and stuff like that on a stream. We got 20 seconds left. We got 6 players this round. If anybody else wants to get in. All right. Dung's in. Lopt is the unemployed beta tester. Okay. 10 seconds left. If anybody else wants to jump in the game, exclamation point join. Joannis0, good to see you. Welcome in. All right, here we go. So between 1 and 255. Oh, now I gotta think of all new like halfway points for things. All right, so round 1, here we go for 100,000 points. I'm just gonna binary search the thing. It's the fastest way I can think to hone in on it. Lopta's got the same idea here. All right, so between 1 and 255. And again, it's going to average out all our numbers and then tell us collectively, do we need to guess higher or lower than this? I thought this would be like a really fun sort of chat game to have. If anybody else has other ideas like this, I'm totally down to build this out. All right, so average was 148. We need to guess lower than 148. So I'm going to split it in half again. Let's say 64. Actually, I guess halfway would be between 1 and 148. So that'd be like 76? No, 74, I guess, would have been the halfway point. Not 64. Oh, 556 coming in. Oh, no, wait. No, that was under. Okay, so average was 66 and it's lower than 66. Well, I think me too missed a round. Yep. So lower than 66. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep splitting in half. Yeah, I think Karen's got the same idea here. We're just gonna cut the value in half, and once the bottom number comes up, we'll split that in half, and we're gonna hone in on it pretty quick. That's also why I think we should have done like 500, like 1 to 500. I think it would have been. Although would it have been as hard? Me too. Nice try. So it's lower than 31. Interesting. Okay. Let's keep splitting that in half, I guess. Yeah, nice try, me too. Thankfully, I don't have AI watching chat for those kinds of things. All right, well, let's see what this average comes out to. So I think even if we went to like 500, I think we'd still guess in a reasonable amount of rounds. Like we just finished round 4 and we've narrowed it down pretty good. It's lower than 14. AI was going for SQL injection. Yeah, but that would require something to be watching chat that would actually do SQL injection. Yeah, let's split that in half again. So make sure you put your number in after the round starts. So 556, you need to get your number in there before. Do it again. Because your 13 didn't count on this one. You have to wait for the round to start. So 556, get your number in. There you go. Just in time. All right, so you got to wait for the next round. You'll see the message pop up when it's time. Okay, so now it's time to guess. So it's lower than 8. So yeah, I mean, with binary search, I mean, we're still going to hone in on it pretty quickly. All right, so it's lower. So it's lower than 8. So it's between 1 and 7. So let's see what this comes up with. Here's our average. Our average is going to be around 4. Oh, average is 3, and it's higher than that. So it's either 4, 5, 6, or 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to guess a 5. Oh, I'll have to try the second one. Oh, Karen dragging it down. Oh wait, no, Karen's right. The average was 3, and it's higher than 3. All right. Well, we're all getting the spread in here at least. I think we're going to average out around 6. So maybe 5. Okay, so it's lower than that. So what do we say? Higher than 3, lower than 6. So it's either 4 or 5. So again, with the binary search approach, although we're in round 8, so I think if we had a slightly higher number, I think we would probably still struggle to get down there on with enough things. I kind of want to do something dynamic where depending on the number of people that join, it will reduce the number of rounds to play. Because with 10 rounds with only 6 people, it's going to be pretty easy. Okay, so it's higher than 4. Well, we've narrowed that one down pretty good. So get your guess in. A couple, Me Too and 556 came in a little early, so get it in there again. 556, get your number in there again. Same with Me Too. The round hadn't started yet, so it won't. There. No, not a letter. Has to be a number. Wait. Says you already submitted a guess. Did it take the A as a hexadecimal and it really registered a 10 for you? All right. So we all got it, but it was round 9 of 10. So good job, everybody. So we all get 100,000 points. And for all of us that guessed the correct answer, we also get an extra 100,000 points. So if you do the points command, it'll show that we are all like flush with points now. Do exclamation points. Game should identify any person doing binary search and time them out. Ooh, that'd be a good idea. I had to wait to guess the same number. I gotcha. Yeah, I think if we had done like a range of 500, I think binary search, like you're still going to get down. So for those that aren't programmers in chat, what a binary search is like whatever your range is, you always guess the middle. And then like if it was in the bottom half, then, you know, you cut that in half and then you cut that in half and you cut that in half. And you're going to hone in on the number like really, really quickly. Mewtwo says, why did I get the full 100,000 points when I missed a round? That's a good, well, you got it for the bonus. But if you scroll up a little bit above that, it should say, wait, it says I got 24,000 points. Yeah, the point calculation is a little off for sure. Oh, because that was the reduced thing that came down. So it looks like Me2 didn't even get the, like, in the range of the 24,000. They should have gotten like 21,000 points for being in most of the rounds. Yeah, so I need to go in and like correct some of that stuff. But this is why I want people to stress test some of these games. Anyway, so now if you do stocks or stonks, if you're into the meme, now you can all go buy some stocks in emotes. So you can say like, I want to buy the Jamdolf, and I want to buy like 10 of those. So now if I do holdings, oops, then I can see my stock portfolio. So I have Oh, it didn't draw the jammed off. Oh, it's still coming back from the bot. That's why. So I own 10 jammed elves, 25 lit, and 10 Deadpool hearts, and I still have 40,000 points to spend. How do I buy a stonk? So you can buy, and then you give it the emote. You can just copy and paste the emote. So it's I think it's Dorito with a capital, or Doritos chip with a capital C, capital D, capital C. So Doritos chip. There you go. So now, basically what I do with the stock game is every 10 minutes, it looks at a volatility value for each stock, and it flips a coin for does it go up or down, and then it goes up or down based on that volatility. And so those prices will change over time as well. Oh yeah, you have to give it a quantity. So buy Doritos chip and then 10 or whatever. Yep, there you go. Cool. All right, so now you have 9 Doritos. That sounds like just enough of a snack. So anyway, these are the fun kinds of things I love to build on Streamer.bot. But we definitely have some bugs to work out with the point system and making sure that everybody gets awarded the correct number of points. Need to feed the kids? Yeah, no worries. And good luck with the thing with your meeting later today, Dungspring. Definitely send me a message. Let me know how it goes. Alt F4, good to see you. Welcome in. Haven't seen you for a hot minute. So Lopta, you can only buy the emojis that are actually in the stocks list. Oh, that reminds me. Does my kappa? Oh, it went back to normal. I actually got on a golden kappa yesterday, but it's gone. It only lasts for 24 hours, but I love building these kinds of things on stream. So yeah, if anybody has other ideas on stuff like that, I'd love to introduce those. Or if you think like Chef Frank or the Corgi or whatever are worthwhile having as stock, you know, we could maybe consider expanding our portfolio a little bit. Let's see what else is going on Twitch tonight. None of my regulars are streaming because it's Sunday night at 11 o'clock where I live. Who else is online that we can go bug? Making a dice locking roguelike game. Someone's doing some kind of game development. Actually, let's go see if anybody's doing any other like Streamer.bot stuff. Looks like somebody's doing some kind of online thing of some kind. Clip reviews, marbles, and merch discount. No, that's not what we want. I'd love to learn how to build a game for your stream. Yeah. Yeah, you can, oh, you can't trade with one another, 556. But you can basically buy and sell the stock. So every 10 minutes, the system will come up and it'll show you the new prices. And so you kind of have to keep track of like, what price did I buy it at? Can I sell it and make a profit? I do want to change the output when you do exclamation holdings to actually show you the profit. Like I want it to remember how much you actually bought it for. And then instead of saying you have this and it's worth this much, is just say like you own this many Gandalfs and it's like up or down like a number of points, like plus or minus points. So if you sell with a negative value, you know you're losing money or points or whatever. Yeah, something like that. So I want to tweak that a little bit, but it'll mean like overhauling it a little bit because right now it hasn't kept track of what the price was when you bought it. It's just showing you a value of like, you know, everything together. This is the value of it. But I also need the stock output to not come from the bot because the Jamdolf, for example, is a subscriber emote, and my bot is not a subscriber to my channel, and so it can't access that emote. And so it just prints out the letters of the name of the emote instead. So yeah, good times. Let's see. Anybody have any raid targets? So I do need to wrap up and get to bed. I got a bit of a busy week. Where do I make the game? So I make the game in a program called Streamer.bot. So this is the Canon game. This is our stock game here. Actually, let's make that change right now. So if we check the stock prices right now, so when you do a stocks command, it shows up as me, but when you buy and sell stock, it's coming from the bot. So what I can do here is when we buy the stock, I can come in here and we look for the chat message. Say, sorry, I don't have a matching stock. I want this to come from me and not the bot. So I have to purposely put a false value in here that says this is not coming from the bot. It's coming from me. Just that way it doesn't have to be a subscriber. But you also don't have to be a subscriber to buy the subscriber emotes. Like you can just type in the string. Like if you hover over it, it'll tell you the string that you can type in. So you can still buy Jamdolf. You won't see the nod when you try to buy it. That's all. I think that got all of them. So then you compile in here and then you say save. Sorry, I realized the screen got cut off here. There's a compile button down here and then you save that. And now if you try to buy a stock, it'll show up as me instead. So let's do the same for selling the stock. Make sure it's not coming from the bot. Let's see. So all these chat things in here basically need to add a false thing in here that they will not come from the bot. So all of those responses will come from me. Because being the streamer, I have all the emotes, obviously. I might have missed one on the buy the stock. Anyway, all this code is open source as well. So I share all this freely with everybody. So anybody can, yeah, I missed one here at the bottom. And so anybody can go take a look at what the code is doing. And if you use Streamer.bot, you can go put it in your own Streamer.bot and have the same game on your thing. Freedom Studio? Okay. Does Stream Interactive stuff? Yeah, let me go check that out. Thanks for the recommendation. What are they building? Australian VTuber doing game dev, Blender, Unity, Godot. Cool. All right. Let's go support an Aussie. Thanks for the recommendation. I'll go set up the raid. Here's our raid command. The raid command is going to go grab a random dad joke. So if you'd all do me a favor and go copy that dad joke. When a mummy has a sore back. When a mummy has a sore back and neck, does it go to a chiropractor? These are the kinds of dumb jokes I really like. So if you want to copy that, then when we raid over to the channel, if you want to paste that in chat as a hello, obviously be respectful, please, in other chat communities and so on, if we're going over there. But yeah, thanks again for all the great questions and conversation. Really enjoyed the conversation tonight. I'll be back Thursday and we'll catch up and we'll do some more Streamer.bot stuff. We'll fix some more stuff and maybe build another game, something like that. We'll catch everybody over in the other stream. Cheers.
It's so funny yet so tragic.